Oh, shit. It's your boy, Divine Sense Boxing, in the building. Days away. Days away. Make sure you hit that like button. As soon as you come in, you know the drill. Get the lights all the way up. Let the people know we're in the building to hype this fight. Hashtag just days away. Canelo, Plant, about to go down. And you guys see the title of the video, man. We're going to get into something that I've been seeing as a topic quite often on YouTube as people predict this fight, break down this fight, whatever may have you. And it seems to me that majority of people that are going for Canelo, it's not just they think he's a better fighter. What this really comes down to is really an argument and a debate of resume. And a lot of people just think that Caleb Plant doesn't have the resume or the experience to beat Canelo. Canelo's fought better fighters. Canelo's more distinguished. Canelo's more experienced. And so therefore, Canelo is the overwhelmingly favorite. But that's what we're going to discuss in tonight's live stream. We're going to ask the question that I've seen quite often is, there's no way Caleb Plant can beat Canelo because Caleb Plant can't even beat Canelo's last 3 opponents at 168. A lot of people say he can't beat his last 5 opponents. And the reason why I'm not doing the last 5 is because a part of that 5 is Kovalev, which was light heavyweight. I'm going to focus on the last 3 opponents because those 3 opponents were at 168. And we're going to be watching the fight Saturday night for the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, which is 168 pounds. Omega Red, salute. SM, official member of the channel. I appreciate you stopping by tonight. Volts UK, my man Volts UK putting a lot of work out there on a lot of different channels, man. I see you out there. Shout out to you. Arturo, good to see you, man. So this is what we're going to take a look at as people slowly start to trickle in, get their notifications. I know for a lot of you it's a little bit late, probably chilling at home, probably been at work all day trying to wind down or whatnot. I see my man Nitty G. He's going to have to catch the replay. Yeah, it'll be up. But look, guys, if you guys aren't excited for this fight, you should be. You should be. And you know what? The reality is that as it continues to creep closer and closer, people start getting antsy. You know, this is how it goes, man. This is how it goes. Final predictions are flying around YouTube like wildfire. I've actually seen people change their predictions as the fight gets closer. Something that I've seen many, many times before. So, this is what it's all about. Tomorrow we have the weigh-in. I will be going live, giving my live commentary during the weigh-in. It may not be during the late weigh-in itself, unfortunately. I'll try my best. But I definitely will at least give my reaction to it. All right? Just like I did for Fury and Wilder. My favorite part of the whole build-up, for me personally, is the weigh-in. Like that's the day where it's like you weighed in, you made your weight, you have your face off, you look into each other's eyes, and you see what time it is. Because the fight is here. You get one more night of rest, and it's time to fight. You know what I mean? So I look forward to the weigh-ins more than any other press conference or any of that, because that's the time to see. And that's why I was so disappointed not to get the face-off for Fury Wilder during the weigh-in. And quite honestly, I don't even know what's going to happen in this fight. I've heard rumors that they're not going to let him face off because of what happened back in September. And I don't think these two men can be trusted. You know, Caleb's the type of dude that he might start dropping the mother effers and all this, and Canelo get lit. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're gonna take that risk. Jeffrey in the building. What's good, bro? Thanks for dropping by tonight. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if they're gonna be willing to take that risk. I feel like they should have security on standby and at least get a 30-second weigh-in. Sorry, a 30-second face-off at the weigh-in. Andrew Charles in the building. Cristiano in the building. My man says, I haven't really had time to follow boxing the last couple of months besides the heavyweights. I just don't know much about Plant to be excited, but I hope it's a good match. Yeah, man, I mean, I remember you saying the last time I went live, I dropped a couple of videos or I gave you a couple ideas of fights that you can watch of Caleb Plant, if that's something you have time for or you're interested to do. But yeah, you know, as the fight creeps closer, you know, I'm the same. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, okay, I've already made my prediction, and I've already broke down this fight 4 or 5 times, but there's always something new that pops up. You know what I mean? Every time it's like, okay, well, Caleb's doing this, Canelo's doing that, people are saying this, you listen to the interviews. This is what is so good about boxing, man. It just makes your mind go berserk sometimes, especially when you have a fight like this. Now, the crazy thing for me is that a lot of people think that this is an easy fight for Canelo. And a lot of people think that this is easy, man. You know, Caleb don't punch, Caleb ain't tough enough, Canelo's too good, etc., etc. I mean, if you guys go to the Mayweather channel, ES News, Fight Hub, Fight Hype, and they drop these polls on their community pages of Canelo and Plant, it's always 70% or more saying that Canelo's going to knock Caleb Plant out. That just tells you the confidence that people seem to have in Canelo. very rarely do you see a community page where Plant is more than 10%. Like, and I'm talking about like, big channels out here. So for me, that's mind blowing. Because like, I get it. Canelo's a pound for pound. He's the favorite. But 70%, 75%, sometimes 80% KO? I don't know. My personal opinion is I think people are too fixated on what happened to Billy Joe Saunders, what happened to Kovalev, and I think they're a bit mesmerized, man. I think they're a bit hypnotized. That's my opinion. I said from the get-go that this fight's going 12, in my opinion. Or if it goes 12, if it goes 12, that's where Plant really has an opportunity to pull the upset. My official prediction: Jay Smooth was good. Karma Boxing and MMA was good. Expert Genius in the building. My official prediction is that Plant's going to do really well, but he's going to get cut. He's going to get some damage on his eye. It's going to affect him in the fight, and we might have an issue, some type of stoppage in the later rounds. That's my official prediction. But I want to share with everyone tonight that not only does most people know that I'm rooting for Plant, even though my official prediction is Canelo, I've also just placed my bet. For Plant. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, that don't make no sense, Divine. Like, you pick Canelo, but you bet on Plant. Well, betting's different. Betting is about odds. And I put myself in a no-losing situation. Because if Canelo wins, I get my prediction right. If Plant wins, I win money. And the guy that I'm rooting for wins. Now, for me, the money that I'm putting down, it don't mean nothing to me. So for me, it's not a loss. It's just paper. It's like, if I win, great. If I don't, I keep it moving. It doesn't matter to me. And if you don't have that type of mindset, don't bet. That's just me, right? So it's a win-win for me. But look, let me go ahead and jump into the topic at hand, which is the title of this live stream. Can Caleb Plant beat Canelo's last 3 opponents? So let's double check. You guys see the thumbnail before you came in of the 3 fighters that I'm talking about at 168. Canelo's only fought at 168 3 times. Before that, other than Kovalev, he spent a lot of time at 160. Okay, he spent most of his time at 160. Coming up, collecting belts, until he decided to jump to Sergey Kovalev and grab the WBA light heavyweight title. Then he ventured off to do 168, and he's only had 3 fights at 168. Now, before I get into breaking all this down, I want to remind everybody, okay? Caleb Plant is a true 168-pounder. I want to remind people, Caleb Plant won the Golden Gloves at light heavyweight. Caleb Plant is 6'1". He's naturally a tall and bigger guy. Plant is bigger than Canelo. Canelo is moving up. Yes, Canelo can make weight. Yes, Canelo is in the conversation, if not considered the pound-for-pound best because he moved up, but he's not naturally at the weight. Normally in boxing, not always, normally the better, bigger fighter beats the really good, smaller fighter. Normally. Not always, but normally. So I just wanted to throw that little reminder. And I want to throw something else out there. Because this is what I do. When Divine Sense isn't going live and you don't see me for a few days, it's usually because A, I'm busy. And B, you're right, I'm out there on YouTube lurking and listening and watching and reading what people are saying. A lot of people out there are using Billy Joe Saunders as the guy, as like, look at what Canelo did to him. What do you think he's going to do to Plant? A lot of people. But I want to remind people, most of Billy Joe's success in his career was at 160. Okay? At 160. He beat Andy Lee for the WBO at 160. He beat Willie Monroe Jr., David Lemieux at 160. Chris Eubank Jr. at 160. Gary O'Sullivan at 160. Matthew Hall at 160. Most of his career at 160. Okay, he won a vacant title against Shafat Isufi. A vacant title. Let me say that again. A vacant title. This is Billy Joe Saunders we're talking about. This isn't who has a better resume, Saunders or Plant. Sure, you can say Saunders as a whole, but not at 168. Not at 168. We're talking about a 168-pound fight. We are talking about an undisputed 168 match coming up Saturday night. Not 160, 168. Who has spent the most time at 168? Between Canelo and Saunders combined, Caleb Plant has spent more time at 168. So then the argument, of course, is, because you guys know I love to play devil's advocate. Deanna Branch in the building. Good to see you. Brown on Boxing. What's good? So then people will say, oh, well, but Divine, they were at 160, but they fought a lot of good people at 160. But that's always a two-sided argument. So for me, it's like, all right, which one's a better win at 168? And we're talking about Billy Joe, and I'm highlighting Billy Joe right now because from what I see, a lot of people are using Billy Joe as that display figure, right? This is the guy that's really good, and look what Canelo did to him. If Canelo's going to do that to Billy Joe, what do you think he's going to do to Caleb Plant? Now, did Billy Joe, fit into 168? Yeah, he did. He's a big guy too. He is. He can fight at 160, 168. He moved up. I'm not saying the weight class was too big for Billy Joe. What I'm saying is Caleb Plant has always been at 168. He won the Golden Gloves at light heavyweight. He's always fought bigger guys. So that's it. So let me say this. My question for the chat, and y'all can let me know. Don't let me just speak to myself. We got people in the chat that are curious about what I have to say, but let your opinion be heard. Which is a better victory? Caleb Plant beating Eskugi, or Billy Joe beating Shafat Isufi? Because they were both for a title. They were both for a title. Right? Plant beat Eskugi for the IBF, and Billy Joe beat Shafat for the WBO. Which one was a better victory? So let me know in the chat. Let me know. I mean, this is a question. Which ones? They're both for title fights. They both won. They both got a title. But I believe at that point in time, Muskogee was holding the belt. Plant took the belt from the champion. Billy Joe fought for a vacant title. Now we could compare opponents, but I think you should have a little bit of luster when you beat a guy who has the belt. Right? He got the belt. You take the belt from him. And Caleb Plant did that. Not only did it, he dropped him twice and dominated the whole fight until maybe, the 10th, 11th, 12th round, where he was being a little bit silly. I'm the first one to admit he'd be a little silly trying to mix it up with the guy. You already got him beat, and you're trying to prove a point. I hope he doesn't do that against Canelo, FYI. But nonetheless, he knocked him down twice and took the belt from him. Right? Billy Joe won a vacant title against Shifat Isufi, which I don't even know. I'm sorry, but I don't even know very much about this guy. I mean, I'm not. So the fact that I don't know about him, and I'm not an expert, I don't know every single fighter, but I'd say I'm pretty damn good when it comes to looking at these fighters and fights and stuff. I know who he is. I just don't know a lot about him, which to me is a question mark. And the fact that it was a vacant title, not the same as beating a guy who has the strap. Okay? So then Billy Joe goes on and fights another guy named Marcelo Esteban Coceres or Coeres or something like that. Somebody can correct me on the last name there, who again is not really a name. And then he beat Martin Murray. Martin Murray, yeah. Martin Murray's a decent name. Another UK fighter. So he fought at super middleweight 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Billy Joe did. And the only credible name, in my opinion, in that is Martin Murray and Canelo. He lost to Canelo, and he won a decision against Martin Murray. But then you're comparing Martin Murray to Caleb Truax. Who's more of a name, Caleb Truax or Martin Murray? That's another debate. So we can go all day long about this. But let's do it. You know what I'm going to do? I want you guys to see what I'm seeing. Because, I don't want people to, claim that I'm blowing smoke and, he's lying and all that. So we'll start Martin Murray. Let's go there first. We'll go ahead and remove this. Right. So, peep it. This is Martin Murray. Okay. Because everyone, he's such a quality opponent at 168, right? That's what everybody's saying about Billy Joe. Right? So this is Martin Murray. Fighting a lot of really no-name people. He fought Hassan Nadim Jankum, lost. He beat Roberto Garcia. And he barely got past Gabriel Rosado, but who hasn't? But that's middleweight anyway. So once again, Murray, even though he fought Billy Joe for the super middleweight title, he's not a super middleweight. He is a middleweight. And for anybody out there saying, "Oh, come on, Divine, it's only 8 pounds." No, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference, people, between 160 and 168. So that's Martin Murray. So now what we're going to do is, now we all see that, right? No, really no names. The only name he's got on there is really nothing at super middle. Martin Murray has nothing at super middle. And when he stepped up to fight super middle, he lost to Billy Joe. So in my opinion, Martin Murray is nothing at super middle. This discussion is about super middle. Right? He's got nothing. Martin Murray's got nothing. Now let's look at in the comparison of Martin Murray, we'll look at Caleb Truax, which is a guy that Caleb Plant fought. So we'll share that, and y'all let me know. This is and anybody wondering why I'm doing this is because if you're just joining, a lot of people out there have been saying that Billy Joe is basically like the catalyst, right? He's that display man that people are building up. Look at what Canelo did to Billy Joe. He's such a great fighter. But I'm proving the point here that he was a good fighter. I don't say great because you got to be careful here. But he's a good fighter at 160. I'm proving my point here that at 168 people get, see, the thing is when you get a pound for pound fighter, right, who's moving up, 152, 154, 160, he stays at 160 for quite a long time. I'm talking about Canelo here. Then he jumps to 168, gets a couple wins. Now all of a sudden, he's a bona fide 168 pounder. When Caleb Plant has been at the weight, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't say, well, Caleb hasn't really fought anybody, which we're discussing right now. You can't really say that when the debate here is, do we really say, oh, if you beat a guy at 150, then you automatically can beat a guy at 168 who's been there his entire career, who won the Golden Gloves as a light heavyweight, who's 29 years old, not a 37-year-old Kovalev? Come on, people. Don't get me lit. So here we got Caleb Truax, right? We've already looked at Martin Murray. The really only name, in my opinion, that Billy Joe Saunders beat at 168. Not 160, 168. We looked at Martin Murray. He doesn't have any notable names at 168. He fought Billy Joe. He lost. So Martin Murray at 168 is irrelevant. Now let's look at Caleb Truax. Right? We all know that this is the guy that Caleb Plant fought. So Caleb Truax at 168. Now, right off the bat, I already see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights at super middleweight for Caleb Truax. So look at this, right? And we're going to look at wins and losses here, but let's look at the people that he's actually fought. Even in losses, you gain experience. Yes or no? Let me say that again. Even when you lose, you gain experience. Look what he's got on his resume. Daniel Jacobs, Anthony Durrell. Now, okay, these are middleweight, but these are way bigger names, in my opinion, than what Martin Murray has, and comparable to a lot of names on Billy Joe's resume at 160 as well. But let's move up to super middle. He fought James DeGale. He won, and then he lost the rematch. Peter Quillen, who has disappeared off the face of the earth, was a no contest. The fight was stopped after Truax was cut from an accidental head clash. So we don't really know what would have happened, obviously, because it was stopped. So now we're looking at Caleb Truax in comparison to Justin Murray. So who is a better opponent, Justin Murray or Caleb Truax? Well, let's look at this one guy that he fought, which is James DeGale that I just mentioned. And he's got Badu Jack on his resume. He fought Caleb Truax twice. He fought Fidel Munoz. who's a damn good fighter from, I believe, Ecuador. And the thing about James DeGale, people don't know, he's been at super middle since 2013. James DeGale has been at super middle since 2013. He's a real super middleweight, and Caleb Truax beat him once and lost to him once. I feel like Caleb Truax is much more of a super middle compared to Justin Murray or Billy Joe Saunders, for that matter. So, this is what I do out here. Chavo TV, what's good? Moped in the building. Bruce Goes, how are you today, sir? Thanks for dropping by. Yave, I see you. Good to see you. So, what people need to understand here is people need to understand 160 and 168 is a big difference, especially when you've been at that weight class since Caleb was probably like 18 years old, not 17 years old, at least. So let's do that. Let's bring up Caleb Plant. Because the Canelo fans, they're out there going crazy about resumes. Now, on a grand scale of things, right? On a grand scale, is Canelo's resume better than Caleb Plant? Of course it is. Of course it is. The dude is a pound-for-pound fighter. But the problem that we're facing here, or not the problem, but the debate, is that this fight, I sound like a broken record, but people still don't get it through their thick skulls. This fight is at 168, and Canelo is fighting a man who has been at the weight class basically his whole, well, not his whole life, but in his young adult life. He won. Let me scroll up here so y'all can see this. Right here. 2011. Right? Golden Gloves champion. Light heavyweight. Light heavyweight. Y'all see that, right? Y'all see this too, right? 29 years old. Not a 37-year-old Kovalev. Well, a lot of people like to talk about that fight too. Right? Okay, we all saw that, right? All right, okay, just making sure. Because a lot of Canelo fans are watching behind the scenes right now punching air because they can't comment because they're not subscribed. So, 21 fights. 21 fighters at 168. 21 fights. 21 fighters at 168. How many fights does Canelo have at 168? Billy Joe, Yeardrum, Callum Smith. 3. 3 fights compared to 21. So, you have to convince me that those 3 fighters that Canelo has fought at 168 is better than the 21 fighters that Caleb Plant have combined than the 21 fighters that Caleb Plant has fought at 168. Now, you can say, oh, well, Devon, man, come on, bro. Like, he got all these names at 154, 160. I'm not discrediting that. There are weight classes in boxing for a reason, people. And it's not just, well, Caleb don't got no power. That don't matter. It doesn't matter. None of you guys have ever said or heard me on here saying that I think Caleb Plant's going to knock out Canelo. None of you have heard me say that. I've heard some other people out here say that. I was actually on BFTB early today, and he said he's going to stop Canelo. I was a bit surprised by that. But hey, everybody has their own opinion. I said if Plant wins this fight, he wins by decision. And he has to box beautifully and perfectly for 12 rounds simply because of the powers that be. And I don't care if Canelo fans like that I say that or not. It's fact. Don't make me revisit Lara. Don't make me revisit Trout. Don't make me revisit the Triple G fights. Don't make me revisit even the Miguel Cotto fight. Even though I think Canelo edged him out slightly, I feel like the judges didn't give Cotto more credit than he deserved. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, you're right, Arturo. You're right. Rocky Felding. I apologize. Four at super middleweight. I missed that one because he fought Rocky, and then he dropped back down to 160, and he fought Danny Jacobs. So you're right. It's four. So 21 fights for Caleb, 4 fights for Canelo at 168. And so we got Caleb Truex and we got Escoogi, right? The two really like notable names at 168 for Plant. Right? We can argue all day. You know, you got Vincent Fuggenbutts and Mike Lee, but I mean, these guys were. I know Mike Lee was undefeated, but he didn't beat anybody notable, to be honest. And Vincent was he was very good in Germany. He was knocking everybody out in Germany, but when he came to America, and faced Caleb Plant, for example, he got destroyed. But you know, when you don't fight credible names in America, in my opinion, you just can't be up there at the top. I mean, most of the great fighters or the best fighters come from the States. You got a few from the UK and you got some from Mexico. But if you spend your whole career in Poland or Germany and you win championships over there, you can't really be considered the best, right? If you're not fighting American fighters or UK fighters or Mexican fighters or other continents. That's just my opinion. But it was a good win because a lot of people thought that, this Fuggenbutts guy hits really hard. You know, he's kind of got that like East Germany style, come forward, punch really hard jab, land a big right hand. And Caleb just embarrassed him. And that's another thing. That's another thing that I have to explain to people as well when it comes to winning fights, right? Let me say this. A lot of people criticize Plant's resume. And I get it. But I want to say 2 things about that. Number 1, Teofimo Lopez. When he fought Lomachenko, he didn't have a resume. He didn't have any notable names on his resume. But he was so skilled. And this is why people are giving Caleb Plant. This is why Caleb Plant got this opportunity. This is why this fight is selling. Because love it or hate it, or you think Canelo was going to win easily, at the end of the day, let me speak it from the mountaintop, styles make fights, people. People are going to buy this shit because they know Caleb Plant boxes. And people know, even Canelo fans know, that he has trouble with boxers, pure boxers. Triple G sold because it was the 2 guys who punch really hard and who's gonna have the upper hand. But this is a style fight. This is a style fight. And that's exactly why people are going crazy about it. So, Teofimo Lopez didn't have a resume. And then he fought Lomachenko, and he beat him. Nobody said, very few people thought Theo was going to do that. No, very, very few people. And I think Lomachenko was surprised too. He's like, damn, this kid's pretty damn good. And then 7th round, he tries to pick it up and try to fight his way back in the fight. It was too late. He dug himself a hole. He lost. So resume is important, but it's not everything. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is that if this was a conversation where Caleb Plant fought Vincent Fugenbutts and he fought Mike Lee and Jose Estugi and these guys, right? And he's barely winning. He's barely squeaking out a decision, or he gets dropped and he's got to climb his way back into the fight, or it's a majority decision or a split decision against less caliber fighters, then I would say, yeah, you know what, man, I don't think he's on Canelo's level. But the fact that he has won these fights, even though they're lesser caliber, when you are a higher caliber fighter, you are expected to win in grand fashion. Did he not do that? He fights a guy like Vincent. He's supposed to win that in grand fashion. He beat his ass, people. Mike Lee, he's supposed to win in grand fashion. Stopped him in 3. And then when he's the underdog against Yaskugi, he drops his ass twice and takes his ass to the 12th round and beats him on the scorecards, takes the belt from the champ. People, what I want is this. Is just say this is a good fight. I don't want to hear none of this about, oh, Canelo's fought all these great fighters and he's pound for pound and doesn't stand a chance. Caleb Plant is proven at 168. You know, yeah, he doesn't have, I mean, who's at 168 though that he could have fought other than Benavidez? What fighter could he have fought where people would have said, oh, you know what, Caleb Plant, you know, he's really good at 168? Other than Benavidez, who else is there at 168 to make people feel more confident that he has a chance against Canelo? Who? Who else? Who else could he have fought? I mean, I have no problem admitting Benavidez, but if we're gonna throw Benavidez in there, then I'm sorry, but I'm gonna throw the Charlo brothers at 160 for Canelo. Like, if we're gonna nitpick and say, oh, well, he didn't fight that guy, he should have fought that guy to prove himself, then I mean, I can do it for Canelo too. He could have fought Andre. He's like, nah. What did he say to Andre? Payday, payday. All you want is a payday. All you want is a payday, my friend. That's what he told Andre. And to be honest, I believe Andre has more fights on his resume than even Caleb Plant has. But you know, Caleb Plant has that strap. Yeah, he has that strap. And so Canelo's going to try to go for history. I know why. I know why he did it. But let's not do that. When it's, you know, if you want to get upset, here's the thing. Canelo fans get upset. They say, oh, why you all bring up the Charlo brothers and Andre, man? Like, it's only a couple fighters. All right. Well, Benavidez is only one fighter then. So let's look at 168. Y'all tell me on this list, who could Caleb Plant fight that would make you feel like, yeah, you know, if he would have fought this guy, I would have felt more confident. T-Cho in the building was good. Right? Who? So you can't say Billy Joe, because Billy Joe just got his orbital bone smashed by Canelo. So you would say, or he would fight Billy Joe before he fought Canelo, but he wasn't at 168. Billy Joe just barely got at 168. Yeah, you heard it. He's been at 160. So he couldn't fight Billy Joe. Andre Durrell? Maybe. maybe Andre Dirrell, and Benavidez. Benavidez been at 168, and that's the guy, yes, you can really say Caleb Plant could have fought before he fought Canelo. But you can't say Billy Joe, and you can't say Daniel Jacobs either, because Daniel been at 160 forever. You can't really say David Lemieux, even though at one point in time I was a big David Lemieux fan. But David Lemieux's all over the place. He's at 160, he's at 168. The man can't make weight for shit. And he got beat up by Golovkin, and he got beat up by well, basically all the big names, all the big fights he's had, he lost convincingly. So if Caleb Plant outboxes Lemieux, what'd they say? Oh, well, Triple G already did that. And he came up from 160. So who on this list would make you feel comfortable, that would make you feel like, yeah, you know what? He's got a pretty good resume. There ain't nobody here at 168 that are true 168ers except for David Benavidez and Anthony Dirrell. That's it. That's it. So what y'all complaining about? What are y'all complaining about? He didn't fight nobody. Who's he supposed to fight? Daniel was at 160. Lemieux was at 160. Billy Joe was at 160. Even Dirrell at one point was at 160. But, you know, I'll throw Daniel Dirrell in there. But the thing about it is, with Dirrell, is guess who beat Dirrell? Y'all ready for this? Guess who beat Dirrell? Y'all ready for this? Caleb Truax. Woo-wee! That's right. Caleb Truax beat him. And who beat Caleb Truax? Caleb Plant. That's right. Did Canelo ever fight Dirrell? Crickets. And you're going to say, well, but that's because he was at 160, Divine, so he didn't have a chance to fight Dirrell. Exactly. 160. Not 168. Hate it or love it, Caleb Plant is a challenge for Canelo. And I appreciate, you know, Canelo's poker face and all that. You know, I'm experienced, and you'll make sure you bet a lot of money on me. You know, you can bet 3,000, 4,000 on me, this, that, and whatever. Hey, that's what he's supposed to say. That Mayweather did that shit all the time, right? But the problem, you know what's amazing? Do you know what's amazing is that the sweet science, right? The sweet science is amazing, right? You know the old saying where it says fatigue makes what's the name? Fatigue makes weak men of us all, or something like that. Somebody told me that the other day. Or body shots make weak men of us all, or something like that, right? The sweet science is what really makes weak men of us all. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Coward of us all. Thank you, Brown Unboxing. K-Rod, what's good? TS Boxing, I see you. So let me say this. A lot of people, when they look at boxing, they think about knockouts, right? They see Canelo knocking dudes out, going to the body, and all that stuff. And he looks powerful. He looks fast. And it looks good to the naked eye. It does. Even me, I'm like, damn, this dude's, he's quick. He's developed head movement. Goes to body nice. He put combinations together. He can hurt people. So you're instantly, just like Mike Tyson. I'm not comparing Canelo to Mike Tyson, but the stardom and that ability to hard thudding shots and dropping people and hurting people. Fan favorite, right? Even for diehards. How could you not like that? We'll keep all of the drug testing to the side. I know a lot of people. I know that's in the back of your mind. We ain't going to talk about that unless somebody pisses me off. But on a stylistic point of view, he catches the naked eye, right? Especially the casual boxing fan. They're like, damn, this guy's amazing. And if you're Mexican or Mexican American, then you have that connection as well. And he has the opportunity to be, not only the first super middleweight undisputed champion of the world, but also being Mexican and all that stuff, right? Great. I get it. But if you know the sweet science, you know that it's not all about knockouts. It may not be the fan favorite. It may not sell all the tickets and get people to scream your name, but it wins fights. Why did people watch, or why did people pay to watch Mayweather? Because people didn't like his style and people wanted him to lose. So every time they try to put him in there with the biggest, stronger, the biggest and the strongest puncher they possibly could. That's why they threw a rough and rugged, hard hitter like Maidana at him. Not once, but twice. That's why they threw Canelo at him. That's why they threw Corrales at him. That's why they threw Castillo at him. That's why they threw Robert Guerrero at him. All of these like tough, rugged, come forward fighters. That's why they threw, I just mentioned Corrales, right? Even Ricky Hatton was hurting guys and knocking guys out. They keep throwing these guys at Floyd. Big, strong, punch hard, durable, got a chin. And people pay because they want to see him lose so badly. Pacquiao's too quick. He's too strong. He hurts people. What is more devastating, or how can I put it? Demoralizing. That's the best word. What is more demoralizing? Getting knocked out or getting outboxed for 12 rounds? Because if you get knocked out, you can say, oh, I made a mistake. He caught me with something I didn't see. It happens in boxing, right? You can bounce back from it. You can come back your next fight and knock out your next opponent and regain your confidence. But when you get your ass beat for 12 rounds, that shit takes a lot out of you. When you can't do what you thought you can do. When you keep getting jabbed to the face, to the body, and every time you try to throw a punch, you don't land it. He keeps circling around you, shifting, pivoting, shimmying around you, right? Peppering you with shots. Frustration builds. You start getting desperate. You start reaching. You get the pull counter. You get the pot shots. You get clinched up when you're trying to get off. Not only you get clinched up, but you get spun out of position. You got to reset your feet. That's called sweet science. That's called a boxing lesson, people. A boxing lesson. That shit is demoralizing. And even more demoralizing for a guy like Canelo if he were to lose that way. So, Ed Rock, I see you in the building, bro. What's good? Thanks for dropping by tonight. Make sure you guys come in. You guys know the drill. Make sure the likes will go all the way up. We've had up to close to 50 people in here, so we should have close to 50 likes. I understand we got a lot of people lurking through the bushes and the shadows, punching air right now, not liking what I have to say, but it is what it is. What I invite everybody to do. Yeah, K-Rod, I got you. What I invite everybody to do. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. And if you're truly a boxing fan, like my man Arturo in here, he's going for Canelo. but he's a true boxing fan, right? What I want everyone to do is go back and watch the following fights. Watch Canelo versus, I'm going to shock you guys with this one. I want to make sure I get his first name right. Yeah, go back and watch the fight with Jose Cotto, Miguel Cotto's brother. Watch Jose Cotto make Canelo do the chicken dance. Literally. If Jose Cotto can punch a little bit faster and follow up a little bit better, he would have dropped Canelo. So go back and watch that fight. At least the first, I think he hurt Canelo the first round. And then Canelo adjusted and he ended up winning the fight. But what he's vulnerable to is the left hook. The left hook. What is one punch that Mayweather landed on Canelo? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Check left hook. Check left hook. That's right. You think Caleb Plant ain't going to land no check left hooks? I've seen people say, oh, man, Caleb's only a one-handed fighter. He only fights with his left hand. Well, he better be damn well worried about that left hand. Jab to the body, jab to the head, check left hooks. I'm just saying. From a 168-pounder. It's not about, and Brown on Boxing, I hear you. It's not about, I understand it's a long time ago, but what I'm saying is what he was vulnerable to then, he was then vulnerable years later to Mayweather, and also has been vulnerable later in fights as well, is the check left hook. Or the left hook in general. That's why I bring up that fight. Also, do yourself a favor. Go back and watch the Austin Trout fight. Go back and watch the Laura fight. Go back and watch Daniel Jacobs fight and the Miguel Cotto fight. And for kicks and giggles, if you got time, go and watch the Mayweather fight. Now, I know what's coming back. People say, come on, Divine, man. You can't compare Caleb. Excuse me. You can't compare Caleb Plant to Mayweather. I'm not. I'm not comparing them. But where I will compare is that they both have a very similar style. Caleb Plant uses the shoulder roll defense. Caleb Plant works behind the jab. Mayweather is a bit more accurate. Mayweather gets hit less. Mayweather has a better ring IQ. But Caleb Plant has very similar attributes as Mayweather does, and he does it at 168, a weight class that he's been at since probably 17 years old. I've been saying this, and people have been joining late. Caleb Plant has been fighting bigger men probably most of his life. Canelo has grown into the weight, but he's not naturally a 175, 180 pounder. He's not. He's grown into it, but his experience hasn't came from that weight. So people think that he's just going to walk through Caleb. He's going to bully Caleb. I just don't see it because they're making the comparison between him and Billy Joe. Billy Joe's career is at 160. There is a big difference between 160 and 168. And when Billy Joe moved up to 168, first off, he didn't really fight anybody. And when he did fight somebody, his ass got mollywopped by Canelo. So I'm getting sick and tired of people comparing Billy Joe to Caleb Plant. And if Caleb Plant and Billy Joe fought at 168, Plant would whoop that ass. And I would bet big money on that. Big money. I'm not going to bet big money on this fight. I'll bet a little bit of money. But Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, Big money at 168. I see people in here talking about Caleb Smith. I have no look. The last thing that I want to do, and you guys can see the resume still pulled up here. Right, we got Caleb Smith. He won a unanimous decision. I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I believe in that fight he dropped him. He dropped him a few times, didn't he? With the body shot or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen that fight. But what I do remember from that fight is Caleb's. I mean, come on, man. Caleb Smith's style is tailor made for Canelo. Hands up, earmuff defense. Hoping Canelo will get tired by trying to punch through the guard. Big, long, tries to get the jab in there, and try to land body shots. I'm sorry, that style is just tailor made for Canelo. And yeah, he punches like a zombie, slow as hell, telegraphs his punches. I don't think he's that good on the inside, and I just don't think he's that good on the inside. I think he's just too big and long to fight, to throw short punches on the inside, quick and sharp and hard. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, man, but that's just the way I see it. And let me also say that I thought that Billy Joe was going to do better than what he did. I do want to put that on record. I do want to put that at record. I thought Billy Joe was going to do a lot better. And for everybody out there saying that, oh, well, Billy Joe was doing well early, and if he didn't get his orbital bone broken, he might have beat Canelo. That's a matter of debate. But in my opinion, when Billy Joe got hurt, he quit. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So then the question is, if Caleb Plant gets his orbital bone broken, will he quit? Or will he fight until the ref or the doctor stops it? Now, so I understand the doctor was there for Billy Joe and he was examining the eye. I know that. What I'm saying, though, is that he didn't have any spirit left. Canelo took his spirit. Canelo took Billy Joe's spirit straight from his chest. Took it out. Whoop! Gone. So y'all can tell me in the chat if you think Plant, because all I see is knockout, knockout, knockout. I go to ES News. Everyone's saying knockout. I go to the Mayweather channel. Everyone's saying knockout. Everyone's saying Canelo's going to knock out Plant. Tony Forrester was good. So my question is, why are people saying, I got a question. Why are people saying that Caleb Plant doesn't have a chin? Why are people saying that Caleb Plant doesn't have a chin? I'll wait for the answer. Let me look at some of these comments here. Brown on Boxing says, where is Canelo getting all of this power in caps from? Why didn't he knock out Triple G, Jacobs, Mosley, Cotto? And why didn't he fight the Charlos, Andrade and Benavidez? Yeah, you can make the debate that he's slightly outboxed Triple G if you want to lean that way. Jacobs, yeah. Mosley, Cotto. And he hit Cotto with some bombs, too. Cotto just ate that shit. Very good points. Very good points. But, I mean, these guys, to be fair, Mosley has always been known for a chin. You can't take the Manny Pacquiao fight, for example, because that was a disgrace. A complete disgrace, that fight. Cotto's always been pretty tough. I mean, you just named 4 guys here that have very, very good chins, have proven to have good chins. So I want to say that, because people want to push back on that. But I hear what you're saying, though. I do hear what you're saying. TS Boxing was good, bro. He says, I'm going to have to go against the grain, bro. I don't see Caleb beating Caleb Smith or Saunders. Yeah, I disagree with you, bro. I disagree with you. I think Plant beats both Caleb and Saunders at 168. Absolutely. Absolutely. For Caleb Smith, he's too fast. Plant is way too fast. Uh, he outboxes him 12 rounds. Yep. Guaranteed. Saunders, a bit more tricky because he's a southpaw. And I'm not 100% sure how Caleb Plant would handle a southpaw who can box, who's slick. But I think he's faster than Saunders as well. Caleb Plant is called sweet hands for a reason, people. The dude's got very fast hands for a 168 pounder. The dude punches like he's a lightweight. Like the way he moves his hands, he punches like a lightweight or a 140 pounder. The dude's got serious hand speed, and speed kills in boxing. And the only way you neutralize speed, right, is precise counter punching. That's the only way a guy like Saunders can beat Caleb Plant. But Caleb Plant, his defense is way better than people give him credit for. They see him get hit a few times here and there, and they're like, oh, he gets hit. But, I mean, he's never been dropped. He's never been wobbled. Does Saunders have this crazy power to, like, drop Caleb? He's got to outbox Caleb. My man Big Dog says, orbital bone break only happens to UK fighters. It seems like that, right? It seems like that. Deanna out there beating the drum. She out there beating the drum. She's saying, man, Plant about to shock the world. Arturo says, I want Caleb to be a warrior and make it a classic. I don't think that you should be worried about that. I really don't. I'll drop the link here if anybody wants to jump in and chop it up with me. But the main purpose of this live stream is because obviously, I want to kind of dissect this idea that Caleb couldn't beat Canelo's last 3 opponents that Canelo has fought at 168. And people want to throw in Kovalev and Triple G and could Caleb Plant beat these guys? Well, I just don't like that argument personally because they're at 160. They are at 160. Kovalev, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good win, but the dude was 37 years old and was beat by Andre Ward, right? The dude was beat by Andre Ward. So I don't know, man. I know a lot of people say, oh, he went up there and he beat a bigger guy. But look, I don't want to sit up here and necessarily just discredit Canelo's resume. That's a bit unfair because I have given Canelo, all the respect I possibly can and admiration for what he's accomplished in the sport of boxing. Yeah, Kovalev lost to Andre Ward not once but twice and got fucking stopped the second time. And he also got stopped by Alvarez as well. A different Alvarez. So he got stopped 2 times before he fought Canelo. Ding dong. Kovalev got stopped twice before he finally matched up against Canelo. Has Plant ever been stopped? I don't think so. Has Plant ever been dropped? I didn't think so. Does Plant have more fights at 168? That's what I thought. Has Plant beat the opponents that he's supposed to beat in grand fashion? Didn't sneak by, didn't slip by, split majority, close fight? Did he win in grand fashion all the fights that he was supposed to win just before and after he won his title? That's what I thought. Did he win when he was an underdog and took the belt from the champion? That's what I thought. Hey, Rod.
Yo, what up,
I know you got a mouthful.
Yes, I do.
Wait, let me first. So wait, hold on for a second. So is it? I've heard people address you differently, man. Some people say K-Rod, some people say Crode. Which one is it?
Oh, K-Rod, Krod.
Okay, because I was over there on BFTB earlier, and he was calling you Crode. So just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean it's just short for like my full name, but yeah, I mean like either way, like it don't matter to
me. Being K-Rod as in Rodriguez?
Yep, Kieran Rodriguez.
Nice. Well, look, I was over there on BFTB earlier today, and a lot of people were saying a lot of different stuff. I know he was kind of not necessarily talking about the fight. He was talking about some other stuff that was happening in regards to Canelo and ducking certain people, but I won't open that bottle of worms. But I was actually surprised, as I mentioned earlier, that he said that he thought that he will that Plant will win by stoppage. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, same here, because Caleb Plant's not that much of a I guess like a knockout puncher, but I mean that could be the same thing going with Andre Ward, and Andre Ward, he stopped Kovalev, so who knows? I mean, if Caleb Plant, if he wants to make a statement, by all means, I'm all for it. Just make sure that you do it correctly, and if you're able to mentally and physically break Canelo down, similar to that of what you did with Jose Katagi, right? Mm-hmm. I can easily see that because Canelo, he's a smaller guy. You got size on him, you got reach on him, and you got way more dog than him. And I think that's going to be tested in this fight. But I personally believe it's going to end up like either Floyd versus Canelo or Manny versus Ugas 2.0.
Yeah, you know what? I have this highlighted up here by Brown on Boxing. He says, as Canelo beats Plant, he gets full credit from me. But when Plant beats him, the fans better give him his just due. And I agree 1,000% with my man Brown on Boxing. I as well. If Canelo beats Plant, I'm going to say the dude beat a real 168er, and he's the undisputed. And as long as his test results come back negative, then I'll say, congratulations, champ. You made history. No problem doing that. But to Brown on Boxing point, if Canelo loses fair and square, I don't want to hear no crying, no bitching, no moaning, none. If I swear to God, K-Rod, if I hear somebody say that Plant won because he was running, I swear to God, I'll flip the script. I will flip out on people. I don't want to hear none of that. This guy is the cash cow. He's the pound for pound best. And if he loses a decision, he damn well near fucking deserved that shit if he loses that way. I don't want to hear none of this he running bullshit.
Every time when I hear somebody says that a fighter was running away from another fighter, that's just translation for that you basically got your ass whooped and you couldn't even find a way to actually touch that fighter, because that's just really how boxing is. If you just can't outbox your opponent, you're going to get, caught, and you're going to be basically mentally and physically defeated to the point where you just can't win. That's why styles make fights, and I won't be surprised.
Ed Rock, I appreciate the super chat. He says, peace, good health, and prosperity at Divine Sense. Appreciate you, man. You've been in the chat for a while, man. I always appreciate you dropping by as always. And I love your avatar, by the way. A nice little abstract picture of a lion there. Always appreciate art. So shout out to you. Yeah, I agree. You know, I lost my mind with the whole Rigondeaux situation a few months ago, and the Casimiro fight. And I was in an argument the other day with somebody where they were saying when we were talking about styles, right? And they were talking about Mayweather and different stuff like that. I think it was Mayweather Pacquiao. And this guy said, you know, yeah, Mayweather won, I guess, but you know, he kept running, and you know, he just like didn't want to engage and all this different stuff. And at first I was like, all right, man, you know, if that's how you feel. But he kept saying it. He kept saying, yeah, you know, maybe if he didn't run, it would have been more of an enjoyable fight. You know, maybe if he didn't run, you know, Pacquiao would have a chance. Maybe if he didn't run, he kept saying it. And finally, I just snapped. And I was like, where's he running to? Where's he going? He's in a squared circle that's roped off. Where's he going? And what blows my mind in that fight in particular, I don't want to take it that way, but what blows my mind about that fight is that Manny Pacquiao had 5 years to prepare for that fight. He knew exactly what Mayweather is, what he does, and he couldn't get it done. Arturo, what's good, bro? I know you want to jump in here. My man going for Canelo. You got some thoughts?
I was just
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm just listening to what you guys are saying, and just waiting to kind of get some points across or whatever. So I was letting you guys talk, and then I would jump in whenever the opportunity came. But I mean, I agree with a lot of your points. If Caleb wins, everyone needs to give him that love and say, hey, you know what, this guy's a beast. But at the same token, because I'm coming from the Canelo side, and so I'm saying, well, same thing. If Canelo beats Caleb, I don't want to hear anything where he was a high job. Everyone knew he was going to get knocked out, because that's kind of, even when the fight was starting to get set up, you started hearing that, like, oh, this guy's – I think Caleb's going to be good. I think it's going to be a real show. So that's not, you know, my fight. But kind of like what you said, like, well, if he beats him and if he stays clean, and I'm like, come on, bro, that's an old narrative. That's old. Like, I get it, but it is an old narrative. That's an old narrative. He's been clean afterwards with all the other fights. So that, to me, I think is kind of like, but again, that's a Plant fan saying something. I know you're rooting for Plant, and that's cool. Like, but again,
I'm just saying, I'm not saying, bro, I'm not suggesting that he's not clean. What I'm saying is, I'm assuming that he is clean. I'm assuming that he's gotten past that, and we're over it, and it's not going to be an issue. What I'm saying is that it's happened before. So, God forbid, some bullshit happens. I don't want that. That's what I'm saying. I don't want that at all. I want the test came back. Everybody's clean. We have a new undisputed champion. Congratulations, Canelo Alvarez. That's what I want.
Can I also add on that?
Sure.
Why is it that Canelo needs to have a 10-week VADA program instead of going over for like a 12-week VADA drug testing program? If he like actually believes that he is clean and everybody needs to stop talking all this crap about him for not being on drugs, shouldn't he just go through the actual, you know, like proper steps to prove why he is clean? Because all these excuses that he tries to come up to say that he doesn't want to go through, I guess, like the certain protocols to make sure that everything's clean out of his system. It seems like within these past couple of fights, like a lot of people don't really know, like, has Canelo really been drug tested for like for those past fights leading up to Caleb Plant, right?
Arturo?
Do you want me to answer? Yeah, I can answer that if you want. So basically, yeah. So the way I see it is this: does every fighter do it? So he did the hair follicle test, right? So that part already kind of flew through, right? That he did his due diligence, went through what was required of him, and to prove that if they could trace back with the hair follicle test, that they could look at it. Now, one could say the same thing. If he's working with Victor Conte, who's been caught multiple times, and he has multiple fighters still underneath the same stable that where Caleb is, they're all been popped for steroids, right? There's a lot of fighters. I don't have it off the top of my head right now. Otherwise, I label all that out. But to me, it's like if there's a rule and these are the rules, and he's following those rules and he's following those things, then to me, that's just a moot. That's a moot point. That's just something that's out there. Do I feel like they should do it that way? Sure, why not? I do agree that would be nice if all boxers did that, but they don't. So if he's following the rules, he was cleared of it. It's like committing a crime. You did the time. You did what you had to do. Okay, now you move on. Now if he gets busted again, then I will. I myself, being the biggest fan as I am, I'll never follow or buy another fight of his again ever. That's my opinion.
Uba Fly says he's been clean by the time he gets his non-random scheduled tests.
And you know that for a fact? I mean, that would be something else. Again, I would like to see all the documentation that proves that. And if that's the case, then that's fine. Otherwise, that's just throwing random things in the air. It's like saying, oh, well, you're a murderer, so, or you're so-and-so. I mean, to me, I think, again, that's all random shade. And again, you don't have to like them. I'm just saying that's just random shade, in my opinion.
Arturo, do you agree, or do you think it's necessary, or are you open to the idea of random blood and urine testing similar to what Mayweather demanded?
Yeah. I mean, if they're professional fighters and it's if it's in the rules, like if it was my preference, these guys, they could die in the ring. You know, you see it happen. So to me, 100%, I agree that I wish they were all tested all the time randomly, that they wouldn't know. So you wouldn't. That way, again, the sport stays clean. Everyone gets to at least walk home knowing that no one was cheating or enhancing themselves. But again, if that was the rule, but if it's not going to be applied one way or another, and there's all these rules and holes, I mean, that's where the gray area is, and you can't blame Canelo for doing that. Like, well,
now,
look,
I will play.
I
will play devil's advocate a little bit here and say,
sure.
Anytime.
Oh, that's such a stupid argument.
Anytime you see a fighter come up through the ranks and dominate weight classes, and get bigger and stronger, and they keep their power, it's always going to be a little bit like odd, right? I think we should all. I'm not saying that it's cheating. I'm just saying, like, when you look at it from the outside, let's look at Mayweather, for example, right? 126, 130, he's knocking dudes out. Pretty boy Floyd, right? 135. Once he gets up to about 147, you see where he can't carry his power anymore, right? He's having hand problems because he's fighting bigger, stronger guys. He's not fighting guys at 126, 130 anymore, right? And so he changes his style, becomes Money Mayweather, becomes really defensive, adopts more of his dad's style. He's not with Roger Mayweather anymore. And we know that Roger was more of an aggressive fighter than compared to his brother, Floyd. So he changed, right? Manny Pacquiao, smashing through the weight classes. And people, it was different than Mayweather because he would get into 147, 150, 155, and these catch weights and still break orbital bones, beat people up, drop people, and people are like, damn, a guy who came from like 118 is now 155 and still carrying all this power. So the same kind of argument was happening then with Manny Pacquiao. And so Canelo is kind of a similar path. I mean, he didn't start that low, but he's still he went up and fought Kovalev, right? And knocked Kovalev out. Now, I wouldn't say that's because he was on. I personally wouldn't say he knocked out Kovalev because he was roided up. I don't have the proof of that. I would say that Kovalev was 37 years old and had already been knocked out twice before he fought Canelo. And I think Andre Ward is what basically started the dismantlement of Kovalev, in my opinion. And so that's how I explain that. But I guess my point is, Arturo, and for any of the other Canelo fans out there, is that not only is there at once upon a time he failed a test, and then it's like this weird scheduling as far as when he's testing and when he doesn't test. Is it random? Is it not random? Is it VADA? Is it WADA? It's like it's always kind of like murky waters. and he's coming up in weight classes, and he's breaking orbital bones, and he's beating people up, and he doesn't get tired. When he used to gas out, now he's not gassing out. So it's all these little, small, little intricate details. And that's exactly why I wanted to say that, God forbid, any bullshit happens at the end of this fight and both fighters come clean and there's no discrepancies and no controversy. Last thing I'll say, and I'll swing it back to you guys, is I'll try to, as you guys are talking and giving your rebuttal here, I'm going to try to find the video on YouTube. But Canelo, during his grand arrival, was asked about the testing. And someone asked him straight up, like, hey, did you know that Canelo hasn't been tested yet or whatever? And Plant was like, I don't know. I'm not trying to think about that right now. I'm just trying to think about the fight. I have faith in all the policies and all the contractual ins and outs that it'll all come to fruition. And so it's basically he doesn't know. He doesn't want to think about it. But I found that a little bit odd, because Caleb Plant is, he made a big deal about it, right? Back in September. He called Canelo a cheater. He straight up called him a cheater. And a drug cheat, to be exact. So now all of a sudden, when we get closer to the fight, the questions are coming up about testing, and Caleb's like, he doesn't want to answer, he doesn't want to know, whatever it may be. And I don't know what to think about that, but I'll let you guys, I'll try to find the video now, and you guys can tell me what you guys think. We'll swing it back to K-Rod.
Yeah, honestly, I want to say he probably just believes that everything is put into place where, like, him and his team have, like, I guess come to, like, I guess, like, full belief to think that everything has been set in stone, so there shouldn't be any blowback as far as, like, Canelo trying to, cheat in this fight. But, I mean, if there is something that does pop up, I truly believe Caleb Plant should file charges against Canelo if he does pop dirty, because who knows if Canelo is using some substance that's not listed out of the VADA, drug listing that could be, like, dangerous, for Caleb Plant to possibly die if Canelo does cheat. But if he's not cheating at all and everything does come out clean, then there's no excuses out of it. And I'm pretty sure Caleb, he had already discussed it out with whoever he's working with to make sure that everything is coming out on a fair, even playing field.
Arturo, do you have anything on that?
No, there's really nothing to disagree about. I know that he mentioned that it was a stupid point, so I was trying to wait to see what rebuttal he had for that, so I could just kind of hear what he thought. Maybe it's flop, maybe I missed something. So I wanted to hear what he had to say. But as far as that, yeah, I mean, all that is common sense. I think if he pops dirty, yep, I think that he deserves to get everything at 100%. I don't have any gripes or anything against that. But if he's clean, he's clean. There's really no argument. I don't think anyone in their right mind would disagree with that comment that he made.
Yeah, and I respect that. So let's, since I got you guys both on here, and I see my man Uba Fly saying, look at Canelo's head, delts, neck, hind skin, texture, redness. My man's putting all these periods in there. Muscle toe. If you know, you know. So obviously the speculation is real, and people see and think what they want. I got who we got here. We got Don Vaughn. He says Canelo can't be trusted. Look at Andy Ruiz. He looks like a CrossFit trainer. Once he go to Reynoso's gym. Yeah, I mean, Reynoso is not an angel, in my opinion. That whole camp is a little bit, I don't know, man. Like Ryan Garcia not fighting for a fucking year. Valdez drinking his tea. And the only one that I know of that has never tested positive that's part of that camp is Ortiz, as far as I know. But I mean, I don't know. I think when we when we look at it, we can nitpick trainers and all this different stuff all day long. So what I would rather do is switch gears a little bit. I know you guys joined the live stream at different times. There's people coming in here late. Some people are in here since the very beginning, but it'll be nice to get you guys' opinions. So let's talk about the topic at hand, which is the title of the live stream. Are Canelo's last 3 opponents at 168 better than Caleb Plant? And I'll start it off with K-Rod. Yes, no, and why?
I'm sorry. Can you say that question one more time? I didn't catch it.
Are Canelo's last 3 opponents at 168 better than Caleb Plant, or could they beat Caleb Plant? Yes or no, and why?
Oh, I'd say no, because Canelo's opponents are too slow, too predictable, not very technical, have very poor discipline when it comes to methodology and understanding timing with shots. And their styles are just tailor-made just to come forward and just basically become a one-dimensional fighter. But as far as Caleb Plant's opponents, that does, level out, I guess, at the same thing. But the difference is that those guys actually come to brawl, and they actually do put up a decent fight. But Caleb Plant, he took them out of their element to show why he is who he is. And those fights were mandatory fights versus, with Canelo's opponents, these are opponents where he selectively chose them because those styles favor his style for him to defeat them easier.
Okay, so let's go fighter by fighter and briefly just tell me why or why not. As far as like would Caleb win or lose or whatever have you. So let's go by fighter. And I want to say too, I just realized that Arturo did remind me earlier that it's actually been 4 fights at 168. His last 3 fights have been 1 at 68, and he dropped back down at 160 briefly. But we'll do all 4. We'll do all 4 fights at 168 just for the sake of the conversation. So let's start with who was the first guy that he fought at 168?
Rocky Fielding. Rocky Fielding. Which is a waste of time.
Would Caleb Plant beat Rocky Fielding? K-Rod, yes or no?
Hell yeah. Rocky Fielding's too slow.
Arturo, who would win that fight?
Plant would KO him quick.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we all agree on that. Then he fought. Who did he fight after that?
He fought.
Who did he fight next at 168? Was it
Caleb Smith?
Caleb Smith. Who would win Caleb Smith and Plant? K-Rod.
Plant.
And why?
Day. Oh, basically due to just high ring IQ and better pure boxing skills. And Plant would just immobilize Caleb a lot quicker with his jab. And I think, if anything, if he could stop him, he'll definitely stop him.
Arturo, win, lose, and why?
That's a tough one. I think it would be good. I think Plant maybe, like, again, I haven't seen him with like stiff competition, so it's a in my opinion, like, there's not enough for me to be like, yeah, he would smoke Caleb Smith. I think that it would be a fight that I would actually want to see. He went up to 175 and he dusted the first guy he saw, and so depending on when they would have fought at 168 and how Caleb, I mean, he's not a bad fighter. So, but I'll even give it for the sakeness or whatever. I'll go and say Plant wins by decision, but I don't think he'll knock him out for sure.
Okay, so far, out of the 4 fights that Canelo has fought at 168, both of you have agreed that Caleb Plant would win the first 2 out of the 4. And I agree. I think he would beat Rocky Fielding and Caleb Smith. So the next one is Anvi Yildirim. Who wins that fight between Plant and Yildirim? K-Rod.
Plant all day. He would eviscerate Avni Yildirim.
Arturo.
I think he would beat him in the later, mid to later rounds. Again, he'll win. He'll win by knockout. I don't think it would go the distance. I think he would punish him enough to stop the fight or knock him out, depending on what happens.
All right, so 3 for 3 now. And I agree. I think that he would beat Yildirim quite comfortably. So the last one, right? We know what's coming. The big debate, the one that the people as in the Canelo fans for the most part are using as their display man, their prop. Right? Billy Joe. There's no way that Caleb Plant can beat Billy Joe. Look at what Canelo did to Billy Joe. What do you think is going to happen to Caleb Plant, K-Rod?
Caleb Plant would obliterate Billy Joe, and he would stop him. Easy fight.
Damn. I'll swing it over to Arturo, and then I'll give my quick thoughts about Billy Joe and how I think that fight would go down. Go ahead, Arturo.
I think with the age, I think Caleb would eke out a unanimous decision, but I think it would go the distance. I think it would be interesting, but I think it would go unanimous decision Caleb's way.
Okay. I think that he would beat Billy Joe as well. Out of the 4, I think Billy Joe would be the toughest, just based off of style and based off the fact that Billy Joe's a southpaw. He does have some slick movement, decent defense. He moves around the ring well. He's not going to stand in front of Caleb Plant like the other 3 will. But I just think at the end of the day, Plant's younger, faster. And I see a 12-round decision as well, but a comfortable 12-round decision. So with that being said, y'all heard it here. Those who are still a part of the live stream, we got a Canelo fan, a Plant fan, and I guess I'm a Plant fan myself. I'm probably the more well-rounded Plant fan, I guess you can say. But nonetheless, 4-0, we all agreed that Plant would beat the last 4 fighters or boxers that Canelo has faced at 168. So my question to you, Arturo, would be, since we all agree that he would beat those guys at 168 that Canelo's already fought, why are people, and you can speak for the Canelo fans, and I understand that you may not be one of these guys, but I'm assuming that you associate or Canelo fans who thinks that Canelo's going to knock out Plant. So my question is, why do people think that Canelo's going to win in this grand fashion and knock him out, and Plant's not competition, and Plant's not a worthy opponent? He's going to beat him up just as bad, if not worse, than what he did Billy Joe Saunders, because that's the narrative, right? That's what people are saying. So based off of the fact that we all agree that Plant would beat the last 4 people that Canelo fought at 168, what do you have to say to that, Arturo?
I would say that I don't agree. I don't agree with him, but I think there's delusional Plant fans as well, saying that he's going to absolutely annihilate Canelo just because he just got to 168. Some of the points you were saying that Plant's been fighting at 168. I don't see that either. I think Canelo, it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough fight, but I just think that, and like I have put in some of the comment sections in your videos, is I just think he's going to pound him. He's like hanging up a slab of meat. Yes, I know he's elusive, but he's going to do kind of what he did to Caleb Smith. He's going to pound his arms. He's going to hit it. He's going to hit him anywhere he possibly can to slow him down and just pressure and pressure and pressure. And I think
can I counter with that?
But Smith is hold on.
As soon as I'm done,
Smith is not elusive though.
Smith is not Caleb Plant, dude. Smith is not Caleb Plant. He don't move like him. He don't touch like him. Don't go there. Don't go there, dude.
Oh, dude. Well, then if that's the case, then we're not talking about 168. We're talking about fighters. So then if we're talking about fighters, then it goes back to
Caleb Smith fights. Oh my god, dude.
Are you
Smith fought at 168? Are you gonna
let me finish, bro? So you can give your
finish.
Otherwise,
finish.
We're gonna argue.
I don't care either way, but
well, then why are you commenting if you don't have an issue with it?
Just
brother?
be
Then
consistent.
Just wait your turn.
Just be consistent then.
It's
no, you're not. You're being biased.
How am I being biased? Explain it to me. Go ahead. Since you want to talk, feel free. Go ahead. I'll relax.
No. You finish.
Go ahead, Arturo. Finish your point.
Well, no, my dude wants to talk and interrupt it. I'll just let him so that
Dude,
way he can
talk.
get it out so I can respond. Okay.
I feel somewhat similar to what K-Rod is saying, in the sense that you're saying that, because you literally said, Arturo, that he'll do what he did to Caleb Smith and punch him on the elbows and all this different stuff. But a sentence before that, you said, "Oh, I know Caleb Plant's elusive," but then you compare him to Caleb Smith. I mean, that's not a really compatible comparison, right?
Well, then fine. Then we're going to have to go at a 168 in order to have this conversation. That goes back to when you were saying, well, when you first put this up, we were talking about 168. So I was just giving something so you would have recency bias, so everyone would know that we were sticking to one fight. Right?
All right,
now,
so
you're going to talk about development and everything else. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to look at it, you look at it across the board. But my man obviously here thinks that I'm giving a bias, and that's fine. That's okay. That's fine. I am a Canelo fan, so I'm going to say, you asked me for my opinion, so I just told you. This is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to set up traps for him, and then he'll slowly but surely start to punish Plant. Well, we'll see. If Plant stays disciplined, as you said to Divine, if he stays disciplined the 12 rounds and doesn't get caught, and then get into it. Let's see what happens, what he does when he actually starts getting hit by an elite world-class fighter. How does he respond? And that we do not know yet. That's where I'm at. Again, I'm not a delusional Canelo fan thinking this is going to be a blowout. I just feel like Canelo knows how to cut off the ring. He has the experience. He's fought multiple amount of fighters, and we'll see how Caleb responds once he's in there with someone who can handle the ring just as well as he can.
All right, that's so now look, I understand you're trying to stay amongst the conversation, which is 168, and I appreciate that, because I believe that there are weight classes for a reason. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when people say, "Oh, well, he beat this guy at 150. That means he's going to beat this guy at 168." It just does my head in. It's like, really? I mean, yeah, he beat a good guy at 155, 160, but at 168. And it's not only that, it's that Plant is not only fighting at 168, he's been at 168 since he's like 17 years old. And he's used to fighting bigger guys. And he's 29 years old. He's in his prime. Right? So it's like,
I don't disagree with any of that. I'm still on board with you.
Okay, but that's why I mentioned the weight classes, though. And I try to keep people to understand, like, we can talk about the Triple G fights and we can talk about the Mayweather fights and whatever else, but it's like you can't compare it to 168. You just can't, because it's like Roy Jones moving up, you know what I mean, and moving down and doing the things that he did in his career. When he started doing all that, he started losing. I mean, weight classes matter. And he was one of the best fighters of that generation in the 90s. So that's why I'm like, look, we can't just assume that Canelo's going to be amazing. And again, a lot of that is because of Billy Joe. Literally. It's not even Caleb Smith, really, because most people are smart enough to know that they can't compare Smith and Plant, because it's completely two different styles, right? We can all agree on that. So 100%. Most people are like, I don't want to use that, but they use Billy Joe. People really use Billy Joe because Billy Joe's southpaw slick. And did you see what he did to David Lemieux? He beat David Lemieux's ass, but David Lemieux walks forward.
Just like Canelo.
Yeah. And I like it. I liked David Lemieux a lot, man, when he was at 160. I thought he was devastating puncher, and I thought he's one of those guys that kind of like Wilder in a way, where he's like, he just landed a punch and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But what happened was he started facing the Triple Gs and the Billy Joes, the guys that are just as strong as him, especially Triple G, and just outboxed him. I mean, they just outworked him. And so I just feel like the Billy Joe comparison is really, in the beginning, I gave Billy Joe a lot of credit. I said, Canelo beating Billy Joe, that's a good win. It's a very good win. But then people are using it as a crutch. They're like, he's going to smash Plant because look what he did to Billy Joe. And I now I'm like, you know what? I can't tolerate it anymore. I just can't take it. Because Billy Joe's a 160 pounder. He really is. Right? So he moves into 168, has a couple of fights. and then he gets smashed by Canelo. So, I mean, I hope we didn't upset Arturo, man. He bounced up out of here, but
Yeah, I think he just tapped out. Yo, he just tapped out. He's like, oh man, I can't take this ass whooping too much longer.
I mean, I know I get animated sometimes and I get vocal, man, but look, I gotta say this, man. Arturo, he left, and I don't know if he's gonna jump back in the chat, but I have to admit he's one of the few Canelo fans that try to be fair. I mean, he's a Canelo fan. I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
I've seen a lot worse. Let me just put it that way. I've seen a hell of a lot worse.
Hey, at least he's not one of those like racist MXBC like Canelo fans, because those people are like way more how should I say, dissident and very divisive. So it's like they're not there to have a conversation. They're there to just obviously divide people and just create racial tension. But no, like
so Dave H in here says Canelo by termination. So Dave, I mean, I don't know if you're in here trolling or if you're subscribed to the channel, but click that link right there that's in the chat and tell myself and K-Rod why you think Canelo's going to win by, according to your words, termination, which is a pretty strong word in my opinion to use. My man Yave says, yo, Billy Joe is basura. I mean, he's pretty good at 160, man. I don't want to rip him apart too harshly. Yeah, I don't want to rip him apart too harshly, but at 168, I just can't do it. That you're going too far with people out here saying that that he's gonna just walk through Plant. I just don't get it. No. Even when I did my last live stream where they had the quote unquote experts and pros giving their predictions, and I think at the end of the video it was like 12 people said that 12 of these guys said that Canelo's going to win by knockout, and only like 4 said that Plant's going to win. And it's like, these guys are boxers. These guys are managers and promoters. Managers and promoters not the same as a boxer. Let's be honest. But it's kind of like, really? Y'all think that he's just going to go in there and just walk through Plant? Like Plant is moving up? Like if Plant was moving up from 160, or he used to be at 154 or something like that. So they're both like, they both moved up and they just happened to meet at 168. I say, yeah, okay. Yeah, Canelo probably has the edge because he's bigger if that's the case. But he's not.
Yeah.
He's not bigger. Just because you see this big neck and big shoulders and he looks like he's been doing his squats and he's got his muscular look going on, that doesn't mean that he's naturally bigger. That's like me going to the basketball court at 5'10", and I've been pumping weights and I'm at 185 and I'm feeling big and strong, and I gotta box out a guy who's 6'4", 220 with not very much muscle. He's still gonna outmuscle me because he's naturally bigger. Mm-hmm. He's still gonna move me around. That's just the way it is. That's physics. So I mean, it's unfortunate that Arturo jumped up out of here. I was hoping that we would have a good discussion. Yeah, I've been trying to get Canelo fans in here, considering the amount of shit that they talk on my videos. And if anybody has taken the time to drop by, I know Deanna and a few others have recently revisited some of my videos. And if you scroll through the comments, I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah, because
it's literally insanity. At the end of my video, I said, at the end of my prediction video, I said that, I'm going for the American. Like, why wouldn't I? And then the comment section blows up. Canelo's more American than Caleb is.
What the fuck?
I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, because the Mexicans are native to North America and all this different stuff. And I'm like, you're talking about continents, dude.
What the hell?
It's crazy. And then what happens is Arturo is back. But what happens is it's a domino effect, right? So one person says it, and then people just go they go bananas,
Yeah, they
and
do.
they just ride with it. All it takes is one person to say something, and that comment get 10 to 20 likes, and then people are like, yeah, what is this white guy saying? Yeah, why is he going for the American? Because Caleb's not even American. Canelo is more American than Caleb is.
Hey, could I actually ask you like a question?
Sure.
Would those same haters out of your comment section would keep that same energy if Caleb was black?
Uh,
I'm just keeping it real, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that the reality of a sport that is very race driven,
Yeah,
we're faced with these questions. You know what I mean? And uh, that question can always be just circled back to myself. Like if I go for like I was going for Wilder, and UK fans they just don't get. They're like, you're not black though. Why would you go for Wilder? I'm like, what? But that's the mentality. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because you see the truth of it on YouTube. You see the true colors and what people really represent and what their mindset is. But out there in society, people play pretend. They really do. They play pretend. Like everything's cool, hunky dory, but then when they get on YouTube, their true colors really shine through. But I had comments on my video talking about Caleb Plant he's too white. He's not black enough to beat Canelo. Like, stupid shit like that. Nothing about boxing.
yeah.
And then
racist.
people will say, a couple guys were saying, I had it in my head, I just lost it. But there was about Mexico, right? So you have people saying that Caleb doesn't care about America. He only cares about himself. And so why would you go for a guy who doesn't even love his own country, and really, if you're in America, you should go for Canelo because Canelo represents the true Americans. And I'm like, doesn't Canelo every time he fights wear like a Mexican flag on his trunks and carry a Mexican flag into the ring and play mariachi when he enters the ring and says he's doing this for Mexico? Doesn't he do that? Like ever since I've known Canelo to fight on big fights since basically like 2000 and I don't know, 12, 13, he's been doing this. And so you guys get upset when Americans say, "Hey, why are you going for Canelo just because he's Mexican?" But then you guys do it to us. So why are you going for Caleb Plant just because he's American? Well, because he's American. So it goes both ways. It's just so dumb. It's like people that go for Fury and Joshua because they're from the UK. That makes sense because you're from the UK. But then don't say, "Oh, why are you going for Wilder? Because you're not black." What? But this is what it is, man. And you know what's crazy, K Rod and Arturo is for me, right? It's even more crazy for me. It's because I guess I'm not like your average white guy, right? I grew up on the border of Mexico. So it's like, I understand these people don't know who I am, so I take it with a grain of salt. But in the back of my head, I'm like, you don't even know me. Like I grew up with Mexican flags in boxing gyms, and Mexicans calling me güero and gringo and all this other crazy shit because I wouldn't go toe to toe with them and I try to box. They hated that shit. Right, because they like they're like that toe to toe and go to war. Even sparring is like not sparring. You're like fighting just with headgear on. And so like I grew up with this stuff, man. And it's just weird to me personally more than I guess maybe the average white guy in America who didn't grow up the way that I grew up. And there is a small part of me that like for Arturo here is like if Canelo wins, there is this very small percentage of me that is I'm proud, I'm happy for Mexico. I am, because it's where I grew up. You know, it's like the World Cup. If America gets knocked out of the World Cup, I go for Mexico. Straight up. It's where I grew up. So for me, has nothing to do with like the battle of the countries or whatever have you. But obviously, I'm American first, right? So that's the way I see it. And I'm going to go for Caleb Plant. I'm going to root for Caleb Plant. And for those who know me, I've always picked the boxing style. I'm a fan of a boxing style. I'm a Mayweather fan. I'm a Rigondeaux fan. Willie Pep is my favorite all-time fighter. I'm a Pernell Whitaker fan. You know, so, but again, people come from the woodwork. They don't know who I am. They just assume, oh, he's going against Canelo because he's one of those people that wants to hate Canelo because he's Mexican. And because he probably thinks that Canelo was a drug cheat, but he just doesn't want to say it. I can feel it's on the tip of his tongue. And then why you all so defensive? If your man is so great and he's so good, then like let him be great.
Yeah.
Arturo, I thought we lost you, bro. Like, are you good? What happened?
Yeah, my internet went down for a second, so I got it back up, and we're good to go. So I'm just listening in before I say anything.
Okay, cool. Because I don't. I get theatrical and animated sometimes, so some people just leave and they don't want to deal with it or whatever. But I was saying when you dropped out that you're one of the few Canelo fans, man, that tries to be transparent as much as you can and tries to be fair. You don't buy into the whole, nationalism / racism stuff. And you're a boxing fan. You've been on the channel long enough for me to know that you're really a boxing fan. So I wanted to make sure that you did hear that if you didn't hear it when you dropped out.
No, it's all good, man. I know you well enough, and I've followed you long enough to know that. To me, it's like we can have a difference of opinion, but we're as fans, it can get emotional, just like J Rock or whatever the dude's name is. Sorry, I didn't catch his name. J Rock or whatever.
Vladimir Hernandez.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So sometimes it does get emotional. People are talking about it, and so you have frustration, just like he was demonstrating frustration. So just like anything else, I try to think of things logically, and then kind of put things and look at the different premises that you guys put forward, and then try to keep to that premise. So that's why I didn't mention anything else. I tried to stick to something again that I felt was just recent. And yes, I agree. Plant is it's going to be a heck of a fight. But anyways, all that other race stuff that you were talking about earlier, that stuff, I don't even try to waste my time on it, because at the end of the day, I mean, they're just dumb people, regardless on what side of the street you're on or what race or whatever. They're just dumb people in the comment section all the time.
Yeah, and I thought that I was expecting Fury and Wilder to get crazy. Like when I came back on YouTube, that's when I dropped in to talk about that fight. I was expecting it, and where I'm at in the part of the world, I probably come into contact with more people from the UK than I do from America. So I've become familiar over the past 10 years with people from England and from the UK, and how they can be very interesting people at times, to say it nicely. So I was expecting it, right? I didn't quite expect, and people warned me though. People was like, "Yo, Divine, man, get ready for Canelo fans." I'm like, it'll be all right. Shit, man. I think it's just as worse, if not worse, than the Fury fans. It's crazy. Like, I mean, Fury fans I think they just don't like Wilder. So it became kind of personal on that note. But with Canelo, it's just like, it's about race. It's about country. It's about like, trying to like really just troll hard. It's insane. And,
it's tribalism, man.
Yeah. And I'm telling you what, like, come fight night, after the fight, it's gonna be crazy, bro. It's gonna be great. Like even if Canelo wins, like I'm so determined that this is gonna be such a great fight. And even if Canelo wins, I think Caleb is gonna expose Canelo. I really do. I think he's gonna box well. He may lose in a similar fashion to how Triple G lost, and or Laura, where Caleb's out punching him, he's out working him, but Canelo just lands those big, hard thudding shots that catches the judge's attention, and the judges are going to give him a nod. Possibly drops Plant once and gets that 10-8, and then Plant goes on to box beautifully, but he won't get the decision. You know that these are all like major possibilities. But what I'll come on here. I'm gonna be commentating live for all of you guys that want to join. But it's going to be crazy. And I'm even if Plant loses, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be up there telling Canelo fans like, yeah, your boy won, but your dude got exposed. Like I honestly feel like I'm going to be having that conversation.
Well,
but the problem is though, it's going to be hard because a win is a win. So it's like a team winning the NBA Finals in the 7th game in the last 3 seconds. They barely winning, and then they get a lucky shot kind of thing, and it's like a win's a win. So it's like, you know, you're it's a losing battle. But when it comes to boxing, like I have no problem calling an ace, man, and spade to spade.
Okay, then do me a favor, Divine. When you say he's going to be exposed, just go ahead and expand on that. Exposed, like how? Like that? I don't understand. Even if he loses, he's going to be exposed. How will Canelo be exposed?
Well,
Expand
I think that. Sure. So I think because the way the media has portrayed Canelo and built him up, and to be quite frank, you know, they think that he's going to destroy Plant. Most media think it'll be okay, competitive. The general narrative, and there's a lot of narratives out there, but the general narrative is Plant will do okay for the first few rounds, and then Canelo will walk him down, beat him up, and knock him out. Right? So if Canelo doesn't do that, and it goes 12 rounds, and it's a dogfight, right? Then he was exposed. Is he not? Based off of how the media has hyped him up?
Yeah, but in a way, I would actually prefer that. I would hope he get exposed, and then he would start getting credit for what he does. Because if you follow the media narrative, then he doesn't get the credit that he does. It'll be the other narrative that everyone's saying: jump up and fight a better BF, go and fight Bivol, then drop down and go fight someone else at 160. And like you're saying, they want Canelo to jump all these ridiculous weights and jump up and down to trying to prove himself to be an elite fighter. And so yeah, in a sense, yes, I could say if you want to call that exposed, I just call that boxing. It's like if you find a good fighter, he's going to take you to deep into the waters, and you're going to get to find out who you really are. And so that's why when I was telling you, I hope it's that way. And you're like, don't worry, it will be. And I'm like, I hope so. I really do, because I also want him to get that credit, right? That credit of him being and saying, hey, if he wins, assuming he wins, then I want him to get the credit that he deserves also for now being a unified 168. That's my opinion.
He'll get my credit. I mean, just like I gave Fury credit when he beat Wilder. But what I'm saying is that will Plant get his credit too if he puts on a great show, if he puts on a good fight, and Canelo had to earn it? Will Canelo fans give Plant his? The media, some of the media might, but I don't think the Canelo fans will.
Well, because they're the ones that are tribalistic, yeah, of course, there's going to be morons on both sides. And the ones that are Plant fans are going to start making up excuses and then start calling them Canelo, and then the same old narrative. I mean, like I said, that's why I don't get into that whole race or whatever, because it's like overdone. It's like, okay, look, let's focus on the facts and then start giving people their credit. If they test clean, they do their thing, all right, let's kind of move forward. Otherwise, I mean, you're always going to have sour losers, no matter on either side. Otherwise, you're going to have people saying, oh, you know, this, that, or the other. Canelo's now exposed. You see, he was using roids all the time, and now that finally for once he was clean, you know, he got a real fighter and he got dusted. And so again, I mean, there's all these narratives that will come out from the Plant fans as well. So that's why I'm kind of like trying to keep it clean.
You won't hear that from me. You might hear that from K-Rod.
Well, that's but that's my point. You know what I'm saying? And then that's no disrespect to my dude on the other side.
You might
saying, yeah.
Yo, you're gonna hear me talk all day long, all night long on fight night. Yo, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off. Just wait. I'm gonna piss a lot of people off.
I have a thing, like even with Fury popping and these other fighters that have popped positive for drugs. When they pop positive, they pop positive. I mean, it is, I can't beat around that. It is what it is, right? But after the fact, some people like to cling on to it. It's like once you pop, then you're always suspect kind of thing. And people have their rights to believe that, and they have their other suspicions as far as we were mentioning earlier about moving up weight classes and being stronger and not getting tired and et cetera, et cetera. I live my life, me personally, on seeing is believing, and I don't fall into narratives. It's like when I came in and started talking about Wilder Fury, I told people why I feel like Wilder's going to win on a stylistic point of view. And a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, this guy's cool, man, because, he's not getting into the glove gates and et cetera, et cetera. But as time went on, right, I got more followers and more supporters, and they were bringing it into the chat and hit me on the DM and, hey, Divine, can you talk about the gloves? Can you talk about the water? Can you talk about this, that, and whatever? So for me, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit on YouTube and try to, find evidence that I may or may not find. How about I just do a film study of the entire second fight? And y'all can make up your own mind. So that's what I did. And people walked away from it with different opinions. So, but that's how I live my life. It's like somebody coming to me and say, hey, Divine, you may not believe me, but I woke up this morning and there was a dragon in my room. There's two types of people that will react to that way. One person is, or three people. One is like, oh, really? You have a dragon? That's cool, man. And just believe it because they just believe people without having them prove it. The other type of person says, man, you're crazy. What? Ain't no dragons, bro. They don't exist, dummy. Then the third person, which is me, which is I'll use, really? Damn, that's crazy. Yo, take me to your house. I want to see it. That's the type of person I am. So when people talk about the drugs and with Canelo, for example, which is the topic at hand, that's my stance. If he tests negative again, or if I have evidence that he's currently using, then it is what it is, and I call him out for it. I don't have that right now. Right now, it is suspicion. Right now, it might be suspicion, it might be speculative, it might be intuition, but it's not fact. And that's just how I am personally. So come fight night, if Canelo wins, I'll say, as of right now, the dude's a clean fighter. We can't make excuses, man. He's undisputed, and it is what it is. Congratulations. That's me. Other people on here may not have that same sentiment. So that's just the way it goes sometimes. And I know probably 4 or 5 channels off the top of my head that if Canelo loses, they're going to attack Canelo hard. I'm telling you right now. So any Canelo fans out there, y'all be prepared. YouTube's going to blow up.
Oh, trust me, I know.
It's going to blow up. Just like when Wilder lost, YouTube blew up. And people that are not even Fury fans attacked Wilder just for the hell of it. and that's why, like, when I say you got to give people credit. So when I say, yes, Fury won, but you got to give Wilder a little bit of credit, man. The dude knocked him down 4 times in 3 fights. The dude almost knocked him out in this 3rd fight. Right? Yeah, and he fought into the 11th round. He didn't even have his legs. And y'all don't even want to call him at least a warrior. You can't even at least give him that. Instead, it's, oh, he's a bum. He's worthless. He's been exposed, all this different craziness. Right? And it's like the dude just gave us one of the greatest heavyweight fights, or he participated, because you need 2 people for a fight, in one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time.
Trilogy, my
Five
friend. One of the
knockdowns
best
in a fight.
trilogies of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
Best trilogy.
And then instead of people saying, yeah, you know what, Divine, you know what? Yeah, Wilder is a warrior, bro. Like, shit, man. I thought he almost knocked Fury out in that 4th round. I thought it was over. Instead of saying that, which is the truth, because Fury fans and Wilder haters, y'all know when Fury went down in that 4th round, y'all were sweating. Y'all were sweating heavy, especially when he got knocked down the 2nd time. So let's not pretend here. Y'all worried. So it is what it is. But instead of people saying, yeah, you know what, you're right, Divine, they say, oh, man, Divine, you're making excuses, bro. What? How am I making excuses? Fury won the fight. Me making excuses is saying, oh, Fury cheated or, something like that. Or, trying to make excuses for Wilder. But me saying give Wilder some credit, that's not me making excuses. But that's what's going to happen in Canelo Plant. Y'all, I'm telling you, be prepared. Be prepared. And I like to pride myself as my channel as being one of the non-biased channels out here. I try to keep it right down the middle, play both sides, play devil's advocate. I have my favorites. I have my bias like everyone else. But I'm always, I've criticized Caleb Plant too. I mean, my official prediction, I got Canelo. So what does that tell you? So technically speaking, if Caleb Plant wins, I mean, I don't really feel bad about it because obviously I'm going for the guy. But I got to eat crow too because I picked Canelo. I got to come on here and eat crow.
If Plant wins, I'll come out, show my face, and tip of a cat. No big deal. I mean, at the end of the day, they're fighters. It's fun. We're all fans, and may the best man win. At the end of the day, we just want to see entertaining fights, interesting fights that keep us glued to the TV because we love boxing. At the end of the day.
Yeah, who's this guy? Who is this dumbass? Fury fans attack Wilder. Take your fake ass Enrique Iglesias fucking avatar off, you dummy. For the hell of it, dude, you are delusional, says the guy who pushed the fist in the wrist. I never said that. You came to the wrong place. Get this dumbass out of here. Enrique Iglesias.
Dipshit. But
that's what really irritates me, man. It's like everyone wants to box. It's like everyone says, "Oh well, if you're a Wilder fan, you automatically were suggesting cheating," and it just pisses me off. And there's a lot of content creators out there making videos about me, saying, "Oh, this guy Divine, man, yeah, he's saying that." That Fury was using horsehair gloves and he's cheating and the gloves were manipulated. What? You see a thumbnail and a fucking title and you just assume that that's what I'm saying. You didn't listen to the video. That just proves to you how much people want tribalism.
100%, man.
And they want divide. And that's why the country is where it is right now. If you want to get deep with it, we get deep with it. That's why the country is literally where it's at right now.
I agree. I just don't want to mention it, but yep, exactly.
K-Rod, you were going to say something. You're probably trying to switch gears. It's probably a good thing.
Oh yeah. Like I wasn't gonna add on that, but I just wanted to just talk more about the Caleb Plant Canelo situation. If Caleb does win, can we just admit to say that Canelo bit more off than for what he couldn't chew for this fight?
I wouldn't concede that, but I would say that he stepped up and took the challenge, took the best fighter at 168 to unify the titles, and he lost, and he has to take it like a man, take it in the chin, just like he had to do it when he lost to Floyd. Same thing, and then he has to get back up and see what's up. I wouldn't say he bit off more than he could chew. He did what all boxers should be doing, which they aren't doing, but that's a whole other thing. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, because even if Canelo does win, which that would be historic because he would be the first Hispanic undisputed world champion, which that would be awesome to see. But the only thing just on my end is that I just want to see a fair fight. I don't want to see no cheating. I want to see a very tough, competitive fight where Canelo actually brought the best out of himself, and like whatever happens out of this fight, at least he can say that he actually earned it, with a tough victory.
I'm with you 110%, but and I agree with you, so I don't argue with anything else. I'll just add to it in the sense that if Canelo wins or whatever, just also Canelo doesn't have control over every single person who does something, so you just can't blame. You can blame the organizations, you can blame everyone else involved, as long as that doesn't all fall on Canelo saying, well, it's Canelo that cheated, or Canelo bought all the refs, or Canelo did all this. It's like, well, he can't control everything. If he can, then it's just monsters, and at the end of the day, then shame on boxing. At that point, then it becomes like super ridiculous. Then it's like everyone should just not watch boxing, period. And that's when we just need to stop watching, in my opinion.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that I just want to see Canelo come out clean. Like I don't want to see him get caught for something dirty, and think as if I watched like a really good fight, and then come to find out he got caught, like with something that like nobody didn't hear of.
Yeah, 100%. I would say the same with Plant. I hope he does the pop dirty working with Conte. I mean, that's kind of the same thing. He's never been caught, but I hope that all fighters always come out clean and in that way. But again, that would be I'll be beating the dead horse. Has Canelo been caught? Yes. But since then, has he tested clean? The answer is yes, and it's been a long time. So I think again, I would hope and assume that that would continue. And if he doesn't, then he needs to be stripped, sued, do whatever else you need to do. And I would never ever watch. He'd be erased from my memory as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I can't remember which channel I was watching a few days ago, but there was somebody saying they were bringing up Mayweather and how he was controlling the gloves and the ring size, and he was the A side and all this different stuff. And now Canelo's kind of doing the same thing, right? He learned from Mayweather in that respect. But I think it's for Mayweather. I think it's because a lot of the glove thing would have to do because he had to wear Grant gloves because of his hands. That was a major part of it. Ring size and all that stuff. I mean, that's one thing that actually not even Mayweather started, but I believe Oscar De La Hoya started, if I'm not mistaken. He started that whole A side, stipulations and different things like that. And then Mayweather followed suit, and then of course Canelo followed suit. So I would say that I agree more or less with Arturo. Yeah, it's not all Canelo's fault, but the dude is the A side. I mean, nothing really gets past him, really. I mean, as far as like gloves, ring size, venue, and then he probably has the final say as far as like who gets the gate or the percentage of the gate, the pay per view, who gets X amount. Like he's A side. And he's a champ. He's he's a little champ.
Rightfully so, and that's negotiated. And one would say that he's also going to bring in the majority. If you go into the fans, the people are going to be there. And again, I'm not saying that's the right for him to cheat or decide, but that's been historically done for as long as we can remember. I mean, at least for me, as long as I've been born, I was born in 1980. That's what I can remember coming up watching Cesar Chavez and Mike Tyson and all of them. I think that's been around for as far as A side, but they have to sign off. I mean, if you're the other person on the other side, you negotiate and you sign off on certain things. And sometimes you're going to sign off to things that you really don't want to, but I think that everyone, I don't think it's ever been 50-50, 100% every single time. I never think it's, at least in my current memory, in my lifespan, where it's been A side and B side were treated exactly the same. I mean, they all sign off and agree, and you figure once you sign off, well, then that's your word saying that you're good with what it is. Now, if they pull something off last minute and change a judge, something like that, that's when things start getting shady. And then even myself, no matter if I'm an elephant, if that were to happen, I'd be like, that's shady, dude. Like, yeah, that shouldn't happen.
Who are the judges for this fight?
That's a good question.
Yeah, because if there's like some judges that we probably have known from the past, that might be a little bit suspect. So definitely want to get
that and the referee too.
Right, Caleb has to sign off on that. I mean, he can't just dictated. He has the opposing fighter has to sign off on that. I thought that's
But
what
but Toro, there are sneaky ways to get around it. Now I'm assuming, I'm just throwing this into perspective, but I'm assuming that the judges and the referee has already been decided. It's been decided weeks ago. Okay, and if that's the case, you're right. Caleb has to sign off on that. However, there are sneaky ways to get around things, like, for example, Fury Wilder, when they changed the referee and they brought the referee in 3 days before. Obviously this guy's suspect, right? Randall Mora. So if you're Wilder, you really don't got much choice but to sign off on it. 3 days before the fight, you're already in Vegas. It's like, oh, got no choice. I'm not saying this is going to happen in this fight, but I'm just saying when you have the A side and things don't go your way all the time, you get these little shade. To me, that's shady. Bringing a referee in 3 days before the fight, that's major suspect, especially in a fight like that, of that magnitude. This isn't some like prospect fight in somewhere in Alabama where you can't find a referee. This is like one of the biggest fights of the year, and you're telling me you don't have a referee 3 days before the fight? And the best you can get is Randall Mora, a guy who lets fighters punch the other fighters in the balls 25 times? That guy? Okay. Nobody wants to talk about that. It was, oh, come on, Divine. You're making excuses again, Divine. I think my man G Funky's probably in here. He's probably saying that. Come on, Divine. You're making excuses. Well, where am I wrong, though? How was that not shady or suspect when a referee's put on the job 3 days before a mega fight? So, and they hardly ever release to the public who the judges and referee are. Usually, it's usually pretty hard to find. Sometimes they do. I can search and see if something comes up. But yeah, I agree. For me, it's not only the judges, but it's also the referee, who the referee is going to be for this fight.
I think if there was an issue, the way Plant has been talking about everything, I'm sure Plant would have mentioned something. People say he's the hard nose. I don't care what people think. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it fair. If there was any issues, I think he would have brought it up and he would have used it again in some type of media saying, hey, look, he made me do this just to let you all know. I think, like you said, if Plant's that dude, then I think he would have said it already. That's again, if something happens before the fight, then obviously my mind will change. But at this point, I thought Plant would have opened up his mouth by now and mentioned something if it was something that wasn't right. Because he says he's not about the money, so he'll walk away from the $10 million if it was fishy.
Yeah, why did the I didn't really pay attention originally when the negotiations first fell apart. Why did it fall apart again?
I believe it was because
you're never going to get it.
Was it money?
I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead. I didn't hear you talking. My bad.
Yeah, the negotiations originally fell through, and we almost lost the fight. I don't remember exactly why. I heard different things. I don't know which one was true. I'm guessing it was something to do with money.
I think it was also due to short notice too, because Canelo was trying to have Plant fight him within a month span, right? To get ready, and Plant didn't want to take the fight because he needed to get ready. But then on top of that, the drug testing wasn't put in place in time for the fight.
I actually just found the judges. I'll bring it up here in a second. Don says, I have a feeling Plant going to get a fair shake from the judges. I hope so. I'm about to bring the judges' names up here in a minute. I just found it. Don also says, Divine, what are you reasoning for your decision of Canelo winning? I have a prediction video up if you want to hear all the details. I did 2 main videos about this fight. The first one is a breakdown video of myself and a friend of mine, Brian, who was a national champion in 1999. We did a simulation of the styles. That's one video that we did. Y'all go check that out. The second one is my official prediction video, and in that video, I said that I feel like Plant's going to do very well. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people, but I don't know why. It's something that just keeps popping into my mind. I've actually like had dreams about it. It's pretty like freaky, and I just can't turn away from it. But I have a feeling that Canelo's going to get cut in this fight. I think he's going to take a bad cut. Above the eye, below the eye, something's going to happen, and it's either going to be a doctor stoppage or something like that. I don't know why I have that feeling, but when I have a gut feeling like that, I just have to stick to it. But I was saying earlier in the live stream when people were first coming in that I'm in a no-lose situation when it comes to this fight, because if Canelo wins, I get my prediction right. If Plant wins, then the guy that I'm rooting for wins, and plus I'm going to win money because I'm putting money on Plant. So it's a win-win for me. At the end of the day, I got to eat some crow, obviously. If Canelo does, or sorry, if Plant wins, I got to eat some crow, which is not a real big deal, considering I'm rooting for Plant. So let me bring up the judges. Who the judges are going to be? Oh, you got to be shitting me. You got to be shitting me.
Uh-oh.
You got to be shitting me. Canelo Plant judges are Moretti, Morsa, and Jarman, and Winesfield. Referee Russell Mora. See? God damn.
Isn't Moretti like a corrupt judge?
Oh my God.
Yeah, because
we were just talking about Mora, bro. That's some intervention right there. How does Russell Mora get two big fights back to back? How does that happen? How does Russell Mora get two major fights back to back? I understand they're both in Vegas, so he's in Vegas maybe. I'm trying to think outside the box here. I mean, here's the thing, right? The guy, he has his track record, right? He has his track record. A lot of people say, oh, he should be forgiven because he gotten better and stuff like that. Even though I feel like he was a bit shady in even some of the later fights, but it is what it is. But then in the Fury Wilder fight, there was controversy about a long count, and that doesn't come from divine sense. Okay, if you want to bring it up with someone, go message Andre Ward on Twitter, because Andre Ward said ringside that the count was long, and I believe other boxers as well, not just Andre Ward. So before you come over here, I mean, I guess I'm an easy target because obviously if you message Andre Ward, you'll get blocked and deleted and never be seen. With me, you can attack me and say whatever. But the point is there were controversy in that fight. The people were actually like making videos about it once again because Deontay Wilder went to the wrong corner. Mora stopped the count. 3 seconds went by, and then Fury got up at the count of 7 when it seemed like 15. So, whatever. I mean, I've already made a video about it, and it's close as far as like 9 and 10. It's really close. And even if you follow the rules verbatim, meaning that if a fighter goes to the wrong corner, the referee, yes, has to stop the count and pick up the count where he left off. A lot of people, even Dante's Boxing Nation, was, and I have a lot of respect for him. I've known him for years before he even had a YouTube channel, but he was saying a little bit of slight misinformation. According to the rules, the referee does not pick up the count like in real time. You have to pick up where you left off. So you stop the count and you don't pick up from the timekeeper. I had to learn that myself. I had to educate myself on that because I assumed, just like Dante's Boxing Nation, that when you stop the count, you look up over at the timekeeper and the time count continues. But that's not the case, according to the official rules. But even with that, the count was still really close. Like 9, 10, and it's like it goes back to the Jack Reese situation, right? Where Fury gets knocked down. Yes, he gets up in time, but a lot of referees would have called that. They would have waved that off when they see a fighter's eyes roll back in their head like that and their head slam off the canvas. They're waving that off at the count of 5 or 6. But same thing now with Mora, right? It's like he did the correct thing according to the rules, quote unquote. But, he gets up at 9, 10 once again. So my point is now Randall Mora is back in the spotlight in another major fight where there's a very strong possibility of knockdowns in this fight too, people. There's a very strong possibility about a knockdown on this fight. Yeah, Deanna said Joe Rogan too. Joe Rogan mentioned the slow count as well, but Joe Rogan mentioned the same thing that Dante's Boxing Nation did, which is you look back at the timekeeper. And with all due respect, Joe Rogan's more of a UFC guy. But yeah, the point is Randall Mora. We're not here debating the rules. We're looking at Randall Mora. And we're looking at why Wilder was already going to the right corner. Why are you pulling him to the other corner? It's just suspect. It just makes people scratch their head. That's the whole problem. That's the whole point. So now we know, guys. Right? Now we know. I'm surprised at Boxing Scene, man. Shout out to Boxing Scene. They put this information out there. A lot of times this stuff is hard to find. So Moretti, Morse, Jarman, and Weisfeld. The name that stands out to me is Moretti. And, of course, Russell Mora. I hope we have no issue, guys. I really, really hope we have no issues. Let me see what else this article says. Maybe they have a reasoning on why. Las Vegas, familiar officials have been assigned. Familiar officials. I'm glad how they put that out there. Familiar officials. Oh, yeah, they're definitely familiar. Have been assigned to the Canelo Alvarez Caleb Plant fight Saturday night. BoxingScene.com has confirmed that the Nevada State Athletic Commission has picked veteran Nevada judges Dave Moretti and Patricia Morse Jarman and New Jersey's Steve Weisfeld to score their 12-round, 168-pound title unification match. Another Nevada veteran, Russell Mora, has been chosen as the referee for their Showtime pay-per-view main event. This will mark the third time since September 2018 that Dave Moretti and Weisfeld has worked on an Alvarez fight together. Did you guys catch that? Did you guys catch that? This will mark the third time since September 2018 that Dave Moretti and Steve Weisfeld has worked in an Alvarez fight together. So they've done it. They've been it third time. They got the little duo together. Most recently, Moretti and Weisfeld scored Alvarez a 115-113 winner over Daniel Jacobs and their 12-round middleweight unification fight. Connecticut's Glenn Feldman credited Alvarez with a 116-112 win against Jacobs, who lost a unanimous decision. Now this gets even more interesting. I'm glad I pulled this up. 2 fights earlier, Moretti and Weisfeld each gave Alvarez credit for a 115-113 win against Gennady Golovkin rematch at T-Mobile Arena. Feldman had it even at 114-114. Overall, Moretti has judged 10 Alvarez's professional fights. Most notably, Moretti scored Alvarez a 116-112 loser to Floyd Mayweather and their 12-round junior middleweight title fight in September 2013. So that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure that Moretti wasn't the guy who scored it a draw in the Mayweather fight, and I guess not. He scored it for Mayweather. So that is a little bit of positive news.
So what you're saying is you're conceding that they're actually those cards or the numbers that you got from those judges, they were close enough. Whether you argue whether or not you thought Jacobs won, I definitely don't believe that, though I thought it was a competitive fight.
No,
and the Mayweather one they got
Canelo
it losing.
won.
So you're right. So you're good with that, right? That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, the Canelo won though. Yeah, Canelo beat Daniel Jacobs. I'm just making sure, because I can't remember who the judge was who scored it a draw in the Mayweather fight, which I feel was atrocious. But it says here Moretti scored it for Alvarez. Sorry, he scored it for Mayweather. 116.
I believe it was a female that was that. I think it was a female that did that, and I think then they sat her. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, it's not a sexist thing. I'm just telling you, if I remember correctly, it was a female that had that, and then I think Bird was maybe the last name. Someone can correct me. That's fine. But I don't know why that name's like coming to my brain. But yeah, but I believe it was a female.
Adelaide Bird. That's the name that pops in my head.
Yeah, that sounds. But again, I could be wrong for some reason. But yeah, but I do feel it was a female that had that.
Right here, the fight was won by Mayweather in a 12-round majority decision in front of a sold-out crowd of 16,000. Judge C.J. Ross scored the fight 114-114.
I stand corrected.
Judge Dave Moretti 116-112, and Craig Metcalf 117-111. Craig Metcalf, I believe, scored the best. But Ross, yeah, 114-114 should never judge again. That's pathetic. There's no 100%. Way Canelo won. There's no way Canelo won 6 rounds of that fight.
No.
There's no way. You give him 3 rounds, you're being like super generous, in my opinion.
Yeah, he got schooled.
Let me double check to see if she's still and I'm not sure if it's CJ Ross. I'm gonna see if she's still judging. CJ Ross is a retired boxing judge. Look at this shit. Look at this disaster. See, this is the problem with judges, man. Look at this. CJ Ross is a retired boxing judge who drew criticism for her scorecards in multiple high-profile fights. Manny Pacquiao versus Tim Bradley. As a judge for Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley, Ross scored the bout for Bradley 115-113. Her scorecard drew heavy criticism since the other 2 judges split their respective scorecards, making the result a split decision in favor of Bradley. And of course, Floyd Mayweather versus Alvarez, she scored a draw. After the Mayweather-Alvarez fight, Ross stepped down as a boxing judge. So there you have it, Arturo. And then I believe as well the judge who scored the fight against Michael Fox as well, the racist.
Yep.
She's out too, right? She stepped down.
I believe so. She's suspended indefinitely.
But how pathetic is that, man? How pathetic. It takes, somebody gets a loss on their record. You know what I mean? And it takes that to happen for someone to be exposed. Like, the vetting process for boxing judges needs to desperately improve. Desperately. So it seems like Moretti, he's judged a lot of Canelo fights, but he's pretty much scored it the right way. I mean, he scored it the right way for Canelo and Jacobs. He scored it the right way for Mayweather and Canelo as well. I don't know too much about Morris Jarman, or I know a little bit about Weisfeld, but the one that really sticks out to me the most, obviously, is Russell Mora. Not happy about that. Not happy about that. I wasn't happy about the Wilder Fury for multiple reasons, but also because I don't think he can handle two big heavyweights. He just gets out muscled and he just can't. Now with super middleweights, he might do a little bit better. But I'm sorry, I just can't get past like the stuff that he's done, man. I don't know how they renowned him as a veteran boxing judge out of Nevada. Like he's like this great judge when, like, how are you a great judge when you never took a point away from a fighter who hit the other fighter in the balls 25 times? Literally, I counted it. How are you a great referee?
Hey, Duban,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, shouldn't every world title fight have like a different referee? Like, not the same referee being shown in like every like single fight, right?
Yeah, there should be a rotation. The fact that he is refereeing two major fights pretty much back to back, right? October, now November, Fury Wilder, Canelo, and Plant. And it's like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where. I don't know if it's just coincidence. I don't know if he's the only man available in Vegas. How is that? I mean, how is he the only referee available in Vegas when it's like the fighting capital of the world? I just don't know, man. We're never gonna know. I don't know if Canelo requested it. I don't know if Plant requested it. We just don't know these type of things. But I just think as a whole, when it comes to judges and referees, there just needs to be a much different vetting process. When I watch the amateurs or I watch professional boxing at the lower levels, like prospects and contenders and stuff like that, there's some good referees out there, man. Like, really good. They're fast on their feet. They're paying attention. They're strict. They're firm on what they want. They let fighters fight out of the clinch. They don't become a spectator. And a lot of referees become spectators. They're like standing there watching the fight. And that's why they react slow and they make dumb decisions. If you're a referee, you got a referee. You're completely non-biased. You're in there to referee, make sure the fight is clean. That's why you're in there. And a lot of times you get these guys that have been refereeing for like 30 years. They're in their 50s and 60s. They're the third man in the ring, trying to bounce around with two like super athletes, especially like heavyweights. Like a guy in your 50s, how are you going to manage guy to like basically 500 pounds in the ring? Like, these little things just don't make no sense to me. I've refereed some fights here and there on the amateur level and stuff like that. And I think for me personally, what makes me a pretty good referee is the fact that like I've been in the ring. I've like boxed a bit, so it's like I understand how it feels to get hit, and I also understand like that you got to give fighters a chance, and like all these little small things come into play. But you really got to understand the game, and a lot of times there have been referees that have boxed in the military, boxed at the amateur level. They become referees, and a lot of times they're pretty good referees because they know they've been in there. They've been in there as a fighter. But a lot of these guys never boxed a day in their life. Like, has Kenny Bayless ever fought? I don't think so. Unless someone can prove me wrong. I don't think he's ever fought a day in his life. But you're a boxing referee. Now, I'm not saying it should be a necessity. I'm saying that it's a bonus, especially at the championship level. But it's like if you're a lot of guys who are NBA referees, for example, a lot of them they've played. They never played the NBA level, but they played in high school. Some of them play like lower college level. Like, they understand the game. Majority of them. And so not only the referee, but the judges come in, never box a day in their life. Maybe they sat on the couch with their dad watching Ali and Frazier, and then they thought they know about the sport, so they become a boxing judge. But I just feel like there has to be some type of vetting process. Either you have the experience in the resume, or you got to take like a test. Like you got to know what punches landed are, how you score a fight. Like there has to be a vetting process, and of course the background checks, because these people come from God knows where. They're racist, they're prejudiced, they're getting money under the table. Again, that's all about the corruption of the sport within itself. But it's wishful thinking, right? Christmas is right around the corner, so that's what I'll ask Santa for. No more corruption in boxing. Maybe Santa will gift me with it, I hope. I don't know, gentlemen. All I want is a good, clean fight with a clear-cut victor. I don't want the fight is done and a guy's hand gets raised and there's some controversy with the ref or the scorecards, or I can't take it, man. I can't take it. I just want a clean, hard fight. Let the best man win. And for the life of you, Russell Mora, please, if somebody gets knocked down, don't mess it up. Please. Referee a good fight. Call the low blows. Call the low blows for either fighter. Right? It's no bias. Canelo punches him in the balls, call it. If Caleb punches Canelo in the balls, call it. Set the standard. Harsh warning. If it happens again, I'm taking a point. Period. Because the fighters get the rules in the locker rooms, and then they get it again when they come in the middle of the ring and touch gloves. The ref says punches here are good. Punches below the belt, no good. So you punch below the belt, I'll give you one more warning. If it happens again, I'm taking a point. And if it happens a second time, I'm disqualifying your ass, because now you're doing it on purpose. That's me. That if I was a ref, that's exactly how I ref fights. And accidents happen. I've been in some sparring matches and stuff like that. I hit a guy a little bit low. It happened. You throw a little bit of an uppercut, especially if a guy's taller than you. You get underneath him a little bit. It happens, but you got to set that standard, man, because fighters do that shit on purpose. Just like headbutts and using elbows and anything else, if they're going to get away with it, they're going to continue to do it. You got to set the standard. So I hope standards are set. Yeah. Miles Lane, exactly. A good, clean fight, gentlemen. We'll go back to the old school days of boxing. Referees flying around, picking up fighters from the floor and shit. I seriously can't take it. I swear to you, I can't take it, Deanna. I'm telling you right now. If there's some controversial decision or some referee bullshit, I can't. I don't think I can take it anymore, man. For the sport that I love so much, the time and energy that I put into this, I just can't, man. I just can't take it. So I'm not going to speak it into existence. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be entertaining for the fans. I'll get my money's worth. Win, lose, or draw. I want to say, man, what a fight. That's what I want to say after the 12 rounds. What a fight. Win, lose, or draw. So that's my stance. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I appreciate everyone dropping by. It's been a long and interesting live stream. Set a lot of points. Obviously, the guys on the panel here, my man K-Rod and Arturo, making it a little bit more interesting. I appreciate you guys. And I will be here either live during the weigh-in, and if I can't make it live, I will be here to give my reaction about the weigh-in. You guys know I always do that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on how the fighters look coming off the scale. what they weigh in at. I think both guys are going to make weight. I don't think it's going to be a problem. And hopefully we get a face-off. I'm really, 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 really hoping we get a face-off because that's where that's when I get amped up. That's when I get amped up. I'm like, yeah. And that's when I really get my commentary going. When I see two men face off like that, I get lit. So hopefully we get the face off. I'll leave my commentary. And then, of course, we got the fight Saturday night. And I will be here. Guaranteed. That one is a guarantee. I will be commentating during the fight live. So for those of you who have to work and you can't watch the fight live, you can jump on YouTube and listen to my commentating, slip in your headphones. I'll be commentating. For those of you who are going to be watching the fight, but you don't like the biased commentating during the fight, you can mute it and listen to your man Divine Sense Boxing, and I'll be commentating during the live fight. Either way. And then I'll probably stick around afterwards to give my post-fight thoughts. It'll probably be another 4 or 5 hour live, long, exhausting live stream Saturday night, but it's well worth it, especially if the fight is an amazing fight. So that's what you guys have to look forward to. If you're going to bet, get your final bets out now while the odds. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong damn button. So,
that's funny.
I just want to share something with you guys real quick, so you know I'm not playing any games. There you go, guys. There's my button right there. 3-5. If I win, I get 22.
Ooh.
So it's in. It's in.
Oh wait, like, did you actually put down like $3,500?
Now this is in the currency that I'm in, the country that I'm in. So it's equivalent to about.
It's yen, 35. No, just like,
no, it's not yen. It's equivalent to about.
I know, I'm just joking, man.
$500.
Oh, that's good.
So if I put 500 in, then I'll get about 1,800 back.
Wow, that's awesome.
So there you go, guys. Like, I'm not playing. Hey, someone's gonna get paid. Arturo, you gonna get paid or not, bro? You going for Canelo?
Bro, if I bet on Plant, I'm getting bet. If I have to bet on Canelo, I got to come up with mad money. And
yeah, what is it? I think you got to put down like.
Money.
I think you got to put. I think you got to put down like 1,000.
Is what they were saying. I don't know when the
yeah.
1,200.
Yeah.
It was 1,200 and up in order to start making money. And for Caleb Plant, at least at the beginning, it opened up 6-1. So you were getting really paid if you were Plant. So I mean, if I was a betting man, I would just throw like. Well, you were saying, I'll throw a couple $100 here and see what happens. Even though if I didn't want Plant to win, I'm like, shoot, if I lose, at least I get paid.
That's exactly why I'm doing it. That's exactly why I'm doing it, because it's like I'm going. Obviously, my prediction's Canelo, but it's like the odds are just so sweet for Plant, man. It's like, how could you not? Even if you just drop 100, if you drop 100, you get 600. It's like.
Amazing.
It's like if you lose, okay, I mean, I understand some people $100, that's a lot of money for some people. I get it. But if you're okay with dropping 100, like, I mean, damn, the odds of, you're more than doubling up your money. So.
Oh, yeah, huge. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, I think it's a little disrespectful to Plant, because I'm like, damn, they think that low of them? I'm like, it's going to be a lot better than 6-1.
Exactly.
If you're a betting person,
exactly.
You want to throw that money on there. I mean, 3-1, 2-1, I could see that. But 6-1, I mean, that's like that opened up that money.
Yeah, that's like way.
I'm telling you, bro. And my 500 is really, I mean, it's a pretty fair amount of money. It's a fair amount, to be fair. But at the same time, I know guys that are dropping like 1-2K on Plant. So these guys, they're gonna walk away with five grand if they get it right.
Hell yeah, let's go.
You know what I mean? So I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, I ran into a guy. I was in Tokyo at the time, ironically enough. I was in Tokyo and I ran into a guy at a bar. We were talking about boxing. We were talking for hours. And then suddenly he was like, "Oh yeah, you know that the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight was here in Tokyo, right?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, man, 1990." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I betted on that fight." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yep, I bet for Buster." I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, man, I put 2,000 down on Buster and walked away with like 10 grand, something like that." Walked away with like 10 grand back in 1990. That's a lot of fucking money back then.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I was like 21 years old." He said, "I was boxing at the time. I was a huge Mike Tyson fan." And he was like, "I was one of those people that would just listen to every little piece of news information that was out there." And they kept putting information out there, like kind of like on the DL, that he was getting pieced up in sparring and getting dropped and out there in Tokyo having orgies and shit with Japanese girls. And he's not coming in the fight prepared. And of course, Buster just lost his mom. And everyone was saying that he was looking really, really good in training. So he went against a guy who he's always, idolized at that time, and went for Buster, and he came and he said his whole family like basically disowned him. He was like 21 years old and put all the money he had on Buster. He was just so confident that he was going to win. And then he came out right. I was like, damn, bro, for real? Like, what are the odds of like meeting somebody that betted for Buster Douglas in Tokyo where the fight actually happened, man? Like, the world's crazy sometimes. It's such a small world.
Did you
But
put
look,
that in a video or an earlier video?
I may have mentioned it. Maybe, yeah. I may have mentioned it on the fly.
Because I just watched something like a day or two ago, which is funny that you said that, and I heard the same exact thing, that he was just partying or whatever. But a very similar story. The bet had a lot of money. People who were paying attention were catching those little clips and were like,
Yes.
"You got to put money on Buster."
Yes. Yeah. And the thing was, is that after Mike Tyson retired, he did his documentary where he talked about the fight and stuff like that. And, he came out and said, like, yeah, like, I was partying every day in Tokyo and meeting up with Japanese girls, taking them to the hotel, drinking, whatever. He said he trained like maybe 2 or 3 days for the whole. I think he was in Tokyo for like 2 weeks and only trained like 2 or 3 days. But he was like 19 or 20 years old at that time. The dude was like still a kid basically, and I lived in Japan at that age, so I know exactly what he was going through, man. Going to the clubs and the bars, and the girls were nice and beautiful and just running around, and on top of that, you're the heavyweight champion of the world. So it's like you can get any girl you want. You can do whatever you want there in Tokyo, man. So yeah, man, and a lot of people paid attention to it. Well, not a lot, but the ones who did, and they bet on Buster, man. And they made a lot of money on that shit. But anytime there's an underdog, and the odds are, I mean, like you said, if it's 2-1, 3-1, I probably wouldn't bet. Like, I didn't bet on Wilder Fury. I think Wilder Fury was what, 3-1, something like that.
4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bet on that one, even though I was going for Wilder. I was like, nah, odds are just not. It's not worth it to me. But this is worth, like, for me, this is worth it. 6-1 is definitely worth it, and I feel like Plant can pull it off. So I feel like it's one of those times. I don't bet very often, by the way. It's very rare, and I have to really feel strongly about it. And the odds really have to be in this type of format for me to go out and bet. I don't bet on like basketball and baseball. I don't get down like that. But boxing's, one of the sports I really know a lot about. So I feel much more confident when I bet on boxing. The reason why a lot of people don't bet on boxing is for the obvious, right? There's just too many unknowns, with like controversy and cuts. And this is just a straight up bet for a winner. But you can even make more money if you predict the round, if you predict how the fight ends, the stoppage, draw. Somebody said, I think on the channel you were on earlier, K-Rod, somebody said in the chat that if you bet that it's going to be a draw it's like $1,200. So like if you bet 100 and say it's a draw, you get 1,200.
Yeah. Because I actually looked at that. Like for me, I use Bet Online, in which I haven't bet like at all, like online, ever. But it said on on like basically for any major betting website that you use, if it does go to a draw, you still get your money, but it's gonna be, I guess, like a set flat rate of like whatever betting odds that it's gonna be. I guess like what scaled at, right?
Yeah. And I'm not a betting expert by any means.
Yeah, same here.
I'm actually quite an idiot, you know. There's just so many ways you can bet, like how you win, and then it's like the odds. It's just weird. Sometimes I don't understand it. My uncle used to bet on horse racing, and he was crazy about it. And so he tried to teach me some stuff, and I just never was really into it. But yeah, so there you go, man. I'm invested, man. I don't know how much more you can get invested than how I've invested now. You know, I'm gonna go live, weigh in live during the fight. I put my bet in, and so it's all on the line now, K Rod. It's all on the line now.
Oh
So
yeah.
I put my cards on the table, chips in, all in. So let's see if I get that pot.
Saturday's gonna be a war, man.
Hey, Arturo, if Plant wins, man, I'll send you like $20 from that earnings I get, just because of supporting the channel.
Shoot, I'll do it the other way, bro. If Plant wins, I'll send you those $20. I'll drop it when you're live during that time period. I'll drop you.
Yeah,
that
you drop me a
$20
super
and
chat.
then give you a little tip of the cap. Yeah, I'll super chat you.
Hopefully my subscribers feel sorry for me if I lose $500. They give it back to me in a super chat.
Oh yeah, they will, man. They will. They're gonna ride with you.
We'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just excited for the end of this year as a whole. We got Wilder Fury. Now we got this one. We got Porter and Crawford coming up and some other big fights. And so hopefully we continue to get good, clean fights, no controversy, and we can really enjoy being boxing fans.
100%, man. I totally agree with you. I think we're gonna close out the year with a lot of great fights, and so I'm looking forward to it either way. It's history for us as far as fans and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a great Saturday.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining the conversation, for making it a little bit more interesting. I just wanted to throw out this little resume debate / conversation. I see it a lot on YouTube, people going back and forth about it. But yeah, the fight's here now, gentlemen. So all the talk is done. All the hard work has been done in both camps, and may the best man win.
Thanks a lot, Devon. I appreciate you having me back on, brother. And I'll check in during the live.
Yes, sir. And for all the subscribers, make sure, of course, you hit that like button before you leave. If you're new, hit the subscribe button, like I said. Even if you're watching in the shadows and hating, I'll be on here live. So if you subscribe now, you might get lucky and get a comment in. If not, that's your loss. Any last words, K-Rod?
Yeah, I just want to say, see you November 6th. Undisputed. Here we go. Team Plant all day. And yeah, can't wait for it. It's going to be a fiesta.
Yup. History in the making, ladies and gentlemen. So get comfy. Join me here. If you want some outside source, alternative commentating, I'll be here. And yeah, I guess that's it, man. I'm going to get up out of here. Once again, Arturo and K-Rod, I appreciate you guys' help on the panel tonight. And catch you guys on the next one. Peace.